and welcome back to the only show that breaks down, cracks up, skews, and reviews each week's DC Comics. I'm being emotionally manipulated by Psycho Pirate Eric Shea.
And I'm Jim Warner.
And this is the Weird Science DC Comics Podcast, episode number 577.
You are an emotional guy. You are. And I ended up labeling this room 578 because I hit 577. It said I already created a room of that name, so I thought maybe we had jumped ahead a bit. But we are 577. You are here to declare that, right? You're going to verify that. Fully tell me that that is 100%. All right. So there we go. But here we are. We have a long podcast ahead of us, possibly. We have a plethora plus one books because me and my man Zach will be talking a little Batman and Robin year one. But me and you have 6 books. It's a weird collection. Like last week, whether or not they were good or not, but they seem like heavy hitters and the big books. And then this week you're like, all right. I mean, there's some ones that we enjoy somewhat, some that I have considered our books, like the Question All Along the Watchtower. I think that is more of our book together. I don't know that anybody else is reading them, but maybe they could mix them up a bit. But even so, we have the books. We do what we do, Eric, and away we go. What'd you think about these books? Huh? How about that? I'm trying to get some inside info before we get going because I'm telling you, I read these right before we recorded, as I usually do, and I don't know what I think. Usually, I have like an idea of okay, this will be pretty fun, positive, down, whatever. I don't know. These books are just all odd. I need you to give me some guidance. I need to be manipulated emotionally by you. So that
Psycho Pirate.
No, you're another type of pirate, I heard. But when you end up having that, it's a weird week. It's very weird. But if you're wondering what is going on with such books as Zatanna #1 and Wonder Woman #18, we did indeed do those on our weekly Patreon, a spotlight picked by the badasses of the Get Fresh crew, and they picked Zatanna, big #1. A lot of people were excited about it. I don't know. That's an odd book. Looks good. And then you have Wonder Woman #18, which is, you know what
looks
that
good.
is. Yeah, you kind of know what you're getting there. Zatanna, that was kind of a wild card, hoping that it would progress the character a little. And instead, I don't even know what we got. I really don't. Again, it fits into this week of a lot of characters seemingly like walking through things in a daze and things like that is what I got. But here we are, and we're ready to rock, Eric. But I'm going to get right to it. None of this nonsense. Like last week, though I did have at least 2 people, usually the same.
It's only 2 people,
usual suspects, but they did enjoy the bit of banter at the beginning. But remember when that one guy was impressed the one time we had an intro and it was like 8 minutes long and he said we had what was it, like laser-like focus or something he ended up saying because we got through it pretty quick. I don't know about that. You have to have a thing, Eric, and our thing is nonsense. It seems.
Don't say ours.
Well, my thing, I like to include you in my camaraderie as what I'd like to call a work friend.
Uh-huh.
I'd love at one point, legitimately, a guy when we worked together said that he wanted to be friends with you. And you said, let's keep this relationship professional. It was so fun. And the guy looked so defeated, Eric. He looked defeated.
What do you want from me?
I don't know, but it was another guy named Jim. No, it was me. I was like, hey, I'll come over to your house. Let's go. Again, people, if you're new to listening, me and Eric legitimately live blocks away from each other. I don't know where he lives. He will not tell me. He knows where I live, but I've never invited him in. It's like, yeah, you're a vampire. I tell you told me yourself never to trust vampires. You were warning me against yourself. But there you go. How long has it been? Have I seen you in the past 5 years?
Well, maybe 4. Maybe 4 and 5 years. Something
maybe
like that.
5 years. That's
maybe
crazy.
From afar at the store at some point, but you did the right thing and didn't say anything.
No, yeah. There was one time, legit, me, Logan, Rafe were at Walmart. You were checking out, self-checkout right next to us. They recognized you somehow. And then when we were leaving, wasn't that Eric? I'm like, yeah. Why didn't you talk to him?
Because we just got done talking for 6 hours.
That was the deal. I think I actually said he'd appreciate it, that I didn't talk to him.
And I did.
And yeah. And I knew you couldn't see me. You don't have glasses on. You're too vain. You were walking around. That was before you made those wooden frames that you tried at one point. That would have been pretty cool. Not very giving, those things. You would have looked like Charles Nelson Riley meets Pinocchio. That's what you would have looked like, and that's a pretty cool look.
I'll be real
look.
glasses.
I'm going to have real glasses one day. So all that time we had insurance to get glasses. But, that's a pain in the ass. You didn't have a bonus card. That is very true, Eric. That is very true. But back to the badasses of the Get Fresh crew. Here is their roll call, Eric. I almost said theme. It could be a theme. And we will start out this, as I find the page here, with welcoming a new badass, Eric. Sean M. with the old Sean. I will tell you, when I used to see SEAN, I thought it was seen as a kid. That was how dumb I am. Sean M. Andrew from Belfast, don't mention it. D-Man 3001. David Fink, Jack Halsey, Nick Russ, Trevut, Tom Johnson, Tommy Boy over there, Dan Smith, JLG, Big Z, The Mark Claire Show, The Annihilator, Ted Probst, I Love Punchline. Catching up on the podcast, it seems. I Love Punchline keeps on favoring and commenting on a lot of old spotlights. All that have to do with Punchline, no doubt. But Stork, talking crap. Michael S., Matt Razor, Dr. Matt, Niels Tewart, Stephen Baum, Jason Colby, Sue42 to you and me, Mike G., Ken Halleck, Comic Boom Rocky, Mixmaster, Shay, Mark Jager. You like that? I accentuated it there.
You sexualized it.
I sexualated it. Carlos filleted it. Two Wolf Marv, Luke Hollywood, Simon, Luis, Manship, Swanee. Oh, what happened, Eric? It ran out.
What happened?
Oh, my God. Yeah. Josh Million. People love hearing it again. Batman Beyond, Mark, B. Muir, Brandy, Murray, and Double A Run. Doxing his ass in Minnesota. Now we'll just sit and listen through, Eric. They call me Jim, and I'm here to say we talk about comics every Saturday. You like that? That was called rap, Eric.
Every time you say, do you like that, the answer's going to be no.
That's why I ask you. And an all-time shout out to all-time greats. I think I forgot to shout them out last week. Rob Lewis and Reginald Drinkwater. Reggie, I would tell you normally that I don't feel well, but you don't care, Eric.
You already told me that just before we got started.
I've been feeling off today, but it's actually, now that we started, I actually feel, a little peppy. I was up. I ended up doing a thing with Gray on his YouTube channel. Ended up doing a live stream type deal. And now that I think about it, because I was going to say, Gray and everybody else that I go on their stuff, they realize how ridiculously idiotic I am, as you have learned over 10 years or more, because I don't even know what I was talking about. I was making up, yelling stuff. And I remembered afterwards that he had told me that we were going to talk about Flashpoint. He had just read Flashpoint. Eric, we never got to Flashpoint.
You're just the worst.
I am. I can't control it. And at one point, I realized it, and then
Is it because you didn't read Flashpoint? I just needed to stall for time.
I've read Flashpoint. It's been so long, but he just said it was fine. He was going to talk about it, and I just comment, and I'm like, what was Commander Cold? What was he called?
Citizen Cold.
Citizen Cold. See, I would have said Commander and looked like a jerk, but no, I ended up. I don't know what I was talking about. I went all over the place, and then he had to reel me in, but nobody's going to reel me in. It was because it was very late. It was like, 7 p.m. And that's late for me. No, it was like 11, 12 last night because he's in Japan. But yeah, I realized afterwards I felt really bad. And then I did think, I'm like, man, I kind of just like took that over in the weirdest way and talked nonsense and things like that. I'll put a link in the show notes for it. People can go and see how ridiculous I am. And then in the meantime, I'm like, maybe this is why Eric no longer talks to me when we don't have the show. I think I cracked the code, Eric, is what I did. But once again, thank you, Sean M., for joining, being a badass. That's awesome. We always
thank you indeed.
Appreciate that, especially at times when dirty song market is down, Eric. It's really down. But,
come on, is the dirty song market down, or is dirty song writing just at its weakest point?
No, actually, people are telling me it's at the strongest point, but maybe that's the problem. I'm getting too fancy, is what it is with my songs. I think I've stretched the genres a bit too much. I got to go back to just 40s and 50s. That's what people seem to like. I mixed in some rap and stuff, and
Look,
me with
just
rap.
Go in there and tell them you don't feel well. All will be forgiven.
Well, no. Then they'll go, really? What do you? I don't even know what you say. Like,
oh yeah, you
again, you. Whatever. That's And that's what I'm going to say every time you bring up continuity. You. Let's say like that. I tried.
You have a song called "The Continuity Kid."
I tried, yeah, and that is a very, very loving song. It's not making funny. I would never do anything in a song to make fun of you, Eric. There's no way. Like, especially tonight, there'd be no way of doing that. The Continuity Kid is a theme that really spells it out, and that you don't go with nonsense, and you want continuity. We're going to be talking. I do think we will be talking about some of that tonight. Especially in that question book, possibly to deal with the Phantom Zone. But in the meantime, we'll see. Like I said, I don't really know how these books, how they feel to me, the mouthfeel of them. But we did get some crazy news. I was actually going to tell you, maybe we'll talk a little bit about the news, but the news of that DC Marvel crossover, you end up having a bunch of things. They announced I know, and some people are going a little bit overboard with what it would, but if it does sell, maybe it will be what we did want. I don't know.
It's a springboard.
And that's the thing, when we talked about it at points, we ended up saying, like, maybe that would be the thing that would bring everybody back. I don't think this is quite that thing yet, but it
Not
could
yet. No.
end up
I'm telling you, the
being
idea, this is going to get pique people's interest, and if it does well enough, I think it's going to lead to the big thing. Because even if you go back to the end of Doomsday Clock, it seems like Jeff Johns was predicting the idea of a Marvel versus DC too when that was concluding.
Well, and the fun thing about it is that there's not a lot of details, but when they were released, the people online, they're already setting up battles and things, so it shows you like just how fun that is and how exciting. Now, again, I will warn people, if we do get that, there are never winners. There's never really a true winner by the thing, because especially the big characters, they'll kind of flip-flop some of the lesser ones.
You say that to a degree. The idea of what we had, though, like no universe won overall because then it became the amalgam universe, but you had individual winners within that.
Yeah, I'm saying, though, but when you get the big hitters, they usually go a draw. Or,
Superman beat Hulk. And the only people that really didn't fight was Captain America and Batman.
Yeah.
And Robin and Jubilee fell in love.
Yeah, they were smooching, Eric. But yeah, would you go with the same like rundown? Would you still have Cap versus Batman?
No, because the thing is, the idea, well, they might be your anchor points for each universe, but you have so many new characters since the 90s and people you want to focus on that you could do really cool things with. I think there's like an infinite opportunity to do stuff. I haven't really thought about the individual ones. I more want to see more of the classic stuff.
Actually, if it gets close, we should do something like that, like give our matchups of who we want. That'd be kind of fun.
But like, I want to see like a Captain Marvel Shazam versus a Thor.
Yeah, that would be good. Like Billy the Kid, right? They think
yes, Captain Marvel, Shazam, obviously Billy.
I just thought Billy was just going to be fighting Thor himself, and Thor would just like kill him or
He's
something.
He's going to be
like
fighting
that.
Donald Blake.
Would you? Donald Blake
take his leg out, sweep the leg.
He's got his cane there, and then there's
put him in a body bag. Billy.
Freddy's yelling because he thinks he's got a common deal because Donald Blake has a cane. You end up
honestly,
with all that going.
We just depower everybody. I want Donald Blake there, and the rest of the Shazam, all the kids just team up on it. Becomes the whole idea. How many 7-year-olds can you beat up in one time?
That would be funny. The last time that we saw Donald Blake, things weren't great for him, Eric. He was kind of in a hellhole, so he might be a little over the top. But you get Spider-Man, Nightwing. Is that who you would go with that?
Well, before it was Spider-Man, Superboy, because they were both clones at that point in time. But it's weird to say who you would have now.
You could have John fight him, but he'll just hug him.
I'd like to see like a Sentry versus Superman. Now that Sentry is made as gigantic return of the last bunch of years.
Yeah, there's like a new Sentry too. I don't not quite get that new Sentry, but you could do that. That'd be kind of fun. Yeah, there's a lot of different ones that people would like suggest. I guess you would kind of still go with like Bucky versus Dick Grayson, Nightwing. Winter Soldier versus Nightwing.
Bucky
maybe
versus Jason Todd because they're both the damaged sidekicks.
Screw that. I don't need that. Jason Todd, I think he's going to end up fighting like Squirrel Girl or something. Just kill her. That's where I'm going.
I'm just saying, Marvel and DC both have a lot newer characters that you want to see.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Attack these other newer characters.
You could have Damian fight Spider-Boy. Right?
Squirrel Girl versus Red Canary.
Yeah, and still Red Canary's outmatched. I mean, that Red Canary can't get in any fair fight the way that she plays it out. But yeah, there'd be some fun things.
And this time, instead of Wolverine Lobo, I want to see Lobo and Deadpool.
Yeah, Lobo, Deadpool, and then Harley comes in and farts on him. It writes itself.
Wouldn't it be like a Gwenpool and a Harley, maybe?
Yeah, people don't like that Gwenpool, but then again, people don't like Harley, so that would work out. See, you're better at this than me. Now, did you see the announcement when they had C.B. Cebulski? Do you know at one point he was Japanese? You ended up having him and Marie Javins talking, and did you see the comments and what they were saying? Did you see it all?
I did not see it all, but I saw her going off on the Harley Quinn stuff.
That's all she talked about.
Yeah.
It was so. Here's my impersonation of it. Here. Hey there. Well, what's this going to be about? That's C.B. Cebulski, big fella.
Uh-huh.
And then you end up where Mary Jevons.
Thank you for not using the Japanese accent.
I don't know. No, that's later. I don't know. I think that it should have some farts in it. What? I never heard about this. What? You didn't hear about the Harley fart book? It's really great. It's fartacular. That was the whole press conference. I'm like, really? Can you get that shit out of your mouth? This again, it's turned into what I was talking with Gray about, because we did talk about this, but I ended up saying then, why do people think that a Harley fart scratch and sniff book is geared towards fart fetish people? Like, I don't think anybody with a fart fetish is going to care about a comic book. Why? This is the idea. You've looked. Where do you
get
right?
your fetish material in everyday public?
This is what I'm saying. This is what you delve in porn occasionally, correct? Right?
Yes, I enjoy the pornography.
Did you go out and buy Penthouse this past month? No. You go online where there's a million things. These fart fetish people probably have 8 million things. Probably, I say, Eric.
These are the fart fetishists in the making who can go online. They think they can buy an innocent comic book. They're still young. Their parents don't know any better, but really? They know what they like.
You're saying that kids nowadays don't go online or can't figure that out? I think that you're very naive.
Not with those parental controls.
Seriously, at this point, you don't have to find
parents anywhere.
You don't have to find a garbage bag full of Hustler and Wii
in the woods.
Remember Wii magazine? That was fancy. Yeah. It was French. In the woods. You don't need that. Fart fetish people are not. If you got a pic of a video of people farting, or just running around farting yourself, or getting a comic.
Look, I don't even want to talk about the fetish idea. It's a weird comic book. I don't know who it was for.
It's for nobody. It's you know what it is for. It's for a loud announcement and people to lose their mind, to get just word out and things like that, to be, all publicity's good publicity, good news, bad news, whatever. But but the stuff going, and they announced Matt Fraction on Batman with Jorge Jimenez, I believe.
It's going to mess up Scott Lang something fierce.
Yeah. So we'll end up seeing. We'll end up seeing how that is. Matt Fraction, a lot of people are hit or miss with him, but it's weird too, because I said he has a name that but then when you look into it, hasn't done a ton of stuff that you would actually like. Oh my God, we just did Sex Criminals on the Patreon as our book of the month. It started out fun. It got a little, long in the tooth by the end, and he ended up doing that Jimmy Olsen deal, and he's done what I heard was a great run on Iron Man. So maybe that'll translate in, but we'll see. We'll see how that is. But that's kind of a little bit of a, adjunct news there, Eric. Ad hoc news, maybe. I wanted to throw that in. I just wanted to see. I thought that you would get excited. You actually sent me. You don't talk to me when we're not recording.
Yeah.
And you did end up sending me that news item, that deal, because that is pretty cool. And we've been wondering if they would ever get back to that. And they ended up having that omnibus and things. And then this is the next part. And if things keep selling, which I think it will, I think that it'll do pretty good. And then maybe we will get a proper DC versus Marvel, as you said.
Would you have Supergirl versus Captain Marvel, or Mary Marvel versus Captain Marvel?
No, I'd have Supergirl versus Captain.
Okay.
I don't know the way that Marvel. See, you have to understand how they would set it up and go. I think they would want, because you kind of like Storm versus Wonder Woman's pretty cool. But I think they might want now Captain Marvel. They've elevated her enough that I think that they would want her against
the prestige
Wonder
and the
Woman.
elevation against all these other heroes has changed from the 90s to now. So I am curious of the route the people would go.
And you think Batman is like the pinnacle, right? At DC? Yeah. Okay.
I might even put him against Iron Man at this point.
No, Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan. That's what they'll do, Eric. They like to really elevate her. She'll be going against
even the idea of elevating
she could
people,
go against Supergirl, though.
You had like the Flash versus Quicksilver. It was so like one-sided where Wally West just decimated like Quicksilver. I want it to be so bad now that you have Wallace West decimate Quicksilver, just to show that he's the lowest guy on the totem pole when it comes to speedsters.
And I would think that here would be my progression, just thinking of what you're saying. The idea, you have these, two things, these two issues come out. Then, Eric, get this. Then you have a fighting video game come out. You have the DC versus Marvel universe. And then go and have the comics. I think might be really cool.
Maybe Steel versus Iron Man.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. There's so many combinations that are so awesome. That's why I said that almost seems like it's a separate podcast itself, that you could just have a full episode talking about the combinations and what you would want and how you'd want it to go and whatnot. And then there's the Joker again, like, what's going on? He knows things there. Remember, he was the one, he was like, things are wacky here and all that. But that was a fun, little thing that they did, that versus stuff. Then that amalgam stuff was kind of crazy. But
love that too, but it was still crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. So with all that, though, we're going to get to these books. Like I said, we have a bunch of books tonight. Some weird ones, but we'll get to them right about now.
Gods are always killing. They live by every whim. It's like when Eric went to school. Stupid tests were always beneath him. He thinks he's a character in the movie The Breakfast Club. But there was no one in that movie that everyone called Chubbs. He thinks he is Ferris Bueller. Maybe he should think again. New gods, always fighting shit. New gods, always losing it. New gods, don't know what they'll find. The new gods will always shine. Now, Eric, take off your underwear and shine.
Take off that underwear. Get it going.
Okay.
That's a good one. That ends up telling you all the things you need to know about the new gods. There you go. I ended up where we haven't played that one Patreon Spotlight song that tells you to take off your underwear. I needed another one at some point. So there you go. New gods it is. And we're going to be talking about the new gods in this section of books. But we're going to be starting with the Batman Superman World's Finest. It's a weird book. It's one of those books that when we read it, it's like, okay, you're doing your thing. I think it's going on too long.
It has at this point.
It's not going away because it has a crossover event coming up with the Justice League somehow. And so we're going to be doing that. So it's here for a while.
You don't understand, Jim. Something that took place in the past is going to affect their future in the Justice League Unlimited.
Maybe it's just like again. Now I can play a song that I do like. Oh, also, by the way, one of the things mentioned in the Batman coming up with Matt Fraction is mentioned, the Arkham Tower is mentioned in the announcement. So, boy, we might be able to use that down the line as well. It doesn't say anything with the song. It just says that's the landscape of Gotham. I'm like, is that the only thing Marika Tamaki has ever done? If he's like actually going to stick that stupid
And the
tower.
thing is, the idea of the tower is the only thing she did. Like, everybody is missing Arkham Manor. Freaking Arkham Asylum. Nobody's missing Arkham Manor.
No, Arkham Manor. Nobody's missing that, though. You did like that at one point.
I liked the idea for a second. It just didn't make any sense all the way through.
Just imagine, like, people are wondering, like, is he saying that or whatever? No, he's not. And at one point, they got the Wayne Manor and decided to turn it into a new Arkham. And it made no sense. And I'm like,
it was one of the things that transpired after Batman Eternal.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, where's the Riddler? Oh, he's in the closet down the hall. Where's it? Oh, he's in the parlor, with the candlestick. That was a weird concept.
Spider-Man in the walls.
Yeah, remember that spider guy in the walls? Oh, goodness gracious. That book, again, you and Reggie, you were actually more into it than I was, but in fact, it wasn't very good, and we kind of got some chuckles out of that. But yeah, so we end up having that. But this World's Finest, you get into it, and the fun of it at the beginning was that Silver Age feel and the idea of, all these characters coming in and, this is some fun. It's just kind of worn its welcome. It just does not feel like it means much. You kind of go through it and like, there's another character. And especially with Floronic Man here, we get a background with him, which is fine, but everything kind of seems by the numbers. So I will say, when I do the credits here, Adrian Gutierrez's art's pretty damn good.
Oh, it's great.
Pretty damn good. I actually think that it's stepping it up since it came on the book, but it is Superman World's Finest number 36, written by Mark Waid, Adrian, I almost said, Gutierrez, Tamara Bonvillain blocked on color, Steve Wan on letters. And it's the Floronic Man story. And when you get into it, I realize, like I do every issue of this book from the past, couple months at least, or even longer than that I forget what happened in every issue. So when I go in, I'm like, we kept asking ourselves, what is this World's Finest this week doing? When we ended up saying, here we go. Yeah. And now we're here. And I'm like, Floronic Man. And then the whole deal of the fight between
it's the war between Poseidonus and Tritonus, Jim.
Yeah,
that was
Poseidonus
all set up by the Floronic Man.
And even then, you have an Aquaman book going on right now. This doesn't matter. It's in the past, but it just feels like, all right, it's one of those stories that does feel like a class, like, you could go back and I wouldn't go back and read this. That's the problem. When at the end, I think, this would be something I wouldn't actually seek out if it was something from the past. This concept's okay, but it's Floronic Man talking shit and yelling about how the fauna, flora always best fauna, he says at the beginning, but also the idea he kind of likes the underwater, flora a little better.
It's even more powerful than anything he's had on land, because even this far removed from the sunlight, he is like the strength that it's giving him from this flora undersea. It seems to be the place to be. So in order to freaking have all this for himself, he needs to create a war, which created some spores and things to create this COVID that we have
and
underwater.
I'm telling you, it really does feel like COVID underwater. And then I'm waiting for him to
first
say
we infect the mermaids, and the mermaids they go and they infect the Poseidons, the Atlanteans. So we're going to have ourselves an all-out war, and hopefully Superman shows up and gets King Rodel all pissed off about his wife's ex-flame showing up.
Yeah. I don't think
working out for old Jason Woodrow.
The thing is, if Woodrow actually really went down the line and did think and then we'll get Superman here, and then he's playing 8D chess, because that's what really ends up causing some problems. But really, through the whole thing, all I kept thinking of is, this is just COVID underwater, and it's not really that disguised besides that. And it's like the idea of who's going to blame who, and you did
those
this, and you did
lousy
that.
Tritonians, they went and brought this disease to the freaking Poseidonus brought the Tritonians this plague, and now we have to fight back. And it's up to King Arthur to tell his people, look, I am your protector, I am your king, you will obey my orders, I will fuck these mer people up, and you will say to me that I am your king once and for all.
I like he says that 7 times, it feels, in this. He has to keep reminding these assholes, listen, I'm the king, I'll do the thing. And he says, we're going to go out. You stand ready, right? And we're going to go out, and you're going to talk to him. And I think that might work. But if it doesn't, then fuck it. Just go and kill people and do whatever. I like what he says.
There's an addendum, because it turns out, besides for being a speech, this is a Q&A on Arthur's part, because he'll give his little rah-rah speech, tell everybody what he's going to do, and then the people will be like, okay, King, but if we see any surface dweller helping you, we're going to revolt and think you're a weakling.
Yeah, that's the best. Hey, this is all fine and
all
good.
Right, gotta save face, all right.
Until you see the surface dweller. And then he's like, well, everybody, Superman flies. Do you think of him as a surface dweller?
That's the thing, I understood the
air?
whole thing with the idea where Superman was brought in, because he doesn't want to see any bloodshed underwater between either side. He wants to try to bring a peaceful resolution to this because he cares about Lori Lemaris. But the idea, and Aquaman, obviously, and everybody involved, because he's fucking Superman. But the idea we talk about, this surface dweller, and I said, you just did reading it, I'm like, I'd call him an air dweller, maybe.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
He flies.
I consider him not any of that. You know what I mean? Batman
he's
and
he's
Robin.
the Superman exception.
That's what I'm saying. It is. We have that in the Black Lightning. I'm telling you, in this, though, it really feels like, Superman, okay, he's fine. Everybody loves Superman, not them underwater assholes. I just love the idea that it is that play, though, throughout, where the tension really is, is anybody going to see? It's almost like he's hanging out with his cool friends, but then he wants to go hang out with his old friends, who I hope they don't see me. They're going to get mad and say that I'm not cool anymore. And that's almost the only tension in my mind, is the idea, they're going to see it. And then Superman with his smooch. And though at the beginning, I completely forgot, for some reason, I can see why he married Lois. Looks exactly like her. Like, she's there. Is he like,
but Lois got legs.
well, this is the thing, though. While they're underwater, it almost looks like she's flying. So now Superman in the current deal is real turned on because he's like, now she's like floating like she's underwater. Lori, though, is pretty cool, but does look a lot like Lois in this. And then you do continue to have Robin as the, Robin is the, I'm going to yell a catchphrase. I'm going to say a funny name. And then I'm going to be dumb, so I need to have some background information.
Oh yeah, that's the thing.
That's what he is in this book.
He is our player in this book. The idea, like, oh man, who's that guy? What's his background? What are we going to do about this Batman? Well, let me tell you, old chum.
It's funny. You say, man, what's up with that fungus face? I don't understand. Well, let me tell you the background of the Floronic Man, and the page looks great. I mean, that's where I actually was reading,
Taking
and I'm like,
the old style comics and do it.
So, it looks so good. And this is a book that, you add Dan Mora on, which it looks spectacular. I think Adrian Gutierrez is doing a great job to the idea. Like, I'm fine with this. I actually do like it.
It's so weird to me because you do have this, like, simple explanation of, Jason Woodrue becoming the Floronic Man by drinking this stuff. But for some reason, you have this classic looking, like, page of all of these different panels that, like, showing the depiction of his
It looks like a who's who at the bottom with the Floronic Man.
But when you have this, for some reason, I wanted it to be extended to the point where we're going to fit in some more of that Poison Ivy Year One stuff. I don't know why, because it's so new.
Here's the thing, though.
This is retroactively added in, so all these things are here.
When I was reading this, though, I was like, this is the problem when you do these things for people like you. The problem is you have to be very generic because there's so many things that have happened, are happening, that you kind of have to go generic. But I also thought it's funny because this, and not just this, but because of Matt Fraction being announced on Batman, we have talked a bit about the Jimmy Olsen book, not on the podcast, but people talking about, I haven't found anybody who liked it, actually. But it also goes with the current Metamorpho book. And, the Silver Age stuff. And what I kept thinking then is, remember when we were going to get 5G, the big plays, people just remember 5G. Oh, man, but you were going to have generations. You were going to end up having the deal. One of them was going to be Silver Age, Eric. Holy moly, I thought that sounded cool. Now that I'm reading what these wackadoos do, that we get books like that every single week of all these things. Oh, my God. I'm telling you, for the longest time, I kept saying that, man, I wish we would have gotten that, saw how it was with the generations. No way. I'm out. And I don't know why, but this page, not that it's wag, this is what kind of came in my mind. It all connected of, oh, yeah, this would be one of those books that would have been in that around Silver Age kind of deal. But then there's other ones like Jimmy and Metamorpho and that nonsense. Holy crap. But this is pretty cool. And really what this is, it ends up telling you the background in a way that this is what we talked about on our Patreon Spotlight. If
he went crazy. He done drank an elixir and became the Fluoro Man.
Yeah. So Fluoro Man. You end up where if you didn't listen, if you're not on the Patreon, I tell you to get there. But we talked about Zatanna and the idea that you could have taken a page or so to introduce the character.
First issue, even as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and even in that they tried to, Jamal Campbell tried to do like a spread page, but it stylized. Was, if you didn't know or whatever, this is stylized, but gives you it doesn't give you a thing that you think you're an expert. But it gives you a background.
It gives you a background, but all you see is crazy eyes, Woodrue, looking at a glass, drinking a flask, and then Floronic Man.
Yeah, and what you really get is Floronic Man is so vain that he's even covering up the face on a panel of himself at the bottom. I'm like, why are you covering yourself up there? But at least you get a thing. This is still 100 times more than we got in that Zatanna, something that I kind of like to have in the books. And
I agree. At least this way you can, depict what happened to Jason Woodrue to become the Floronic Man with that stylized, double page spread that we had in Zatanna. It's like, here are still images that maybe you can glean something of.
And in that, I mean, you're not getting something here, but you might have somebody say, oh, that looks cool. I'm going to go check more out. I'm going to go see what this is all about. But it is,
what's the point? Old Floronic Man's dead in Poison Ivy.
Well, that is true. Yeah, there's no need. Also, though, this is a stylized page. Still, it's trying to be fun with it, and it is pretty fun. In that, though, that's where we get back to Aquaman yelling at his people again and saying, by the way, listen to your king, no mob rule. But really, if I end up going out there and die, mob rule, people, do what the hell you want. What do I care anymore? I'm dead. And get somebody that's pretty cool to go on the throne. And again, it feels like this is in a retroactive type way of showing you Aquaman kind of trying to become more of a king and trying to figure out, he does seem a little bit off, like he's angry or whatever, but it does end up where he's doing the right thing. He's going to go out and try to talk it out first because he knows that this is
even though he does this, so I feel like the big wow moment of this issue, besides for Swamp Thing showing up later on, which is cool, I think the big wow moment you're supposed to feel in this is when Mara and Arthur both put on their war garb to go meet, General Rono. But like when I see this change, I'm like, oh yeah, it's kind of cool. It's just, I don't know, it did not wow me in the slightest though.
Then they're on seahorses, and that was cool.
That's just, I don't know. I'm telling you, it didn't do anything for me because it's supposed to invoke that old time Aquaman feel, and it just doesn't. Because
to me, well,
it just is kind of goofy.
This is the thing. This book, again, has kind of gotten on too long that none of it really ends up making me get that. Even with Laurie and stuff, that's cool. But it's not like I'm like, oh man, this is so awesome, and this is just like the old deal or whatever.
But Jim, because of Superman's super hearing, he is able to know that Laurie still loves him.
Yeah, that's the deal.
Here's her heartbeat skip when she was lying.
Ears don't lie. You end up, I think that actually the seahorse deal, I think it is almost a wink too of like, hey, everybody, the big joke is Aquaman on the seahorses, whatever. Look at these badass seahorses, and they're still seahorses. They are though, but it looks kind of cool. But I guess you have to have the bubbles and stuff like that. But I do like that. That looks like something you could end up like signing or something if you were a big Aquaman fan. But
definitely.
Yeah, where you have Laurie come down and again looks just like Lois, but yeah, with the fish bottom. And I heard things about Lois that's probably very equaled out there, Eric, if you know what I'm saying. And now it was something else, olfactory thing. But Superman has super smell, I think. But you end up where they're going with this. You always got to take it to a weird thing. He ends up hearing, the whole thing of how, it's been played and how he got to go. And he's trapped by magic. He can't get out. And then he realizes you got to think the bigger picture.
He's trapped. Laurie can't help him until he realized that she's still in love with him. And he's like, you know what I'll do? I'll use my heat vision to burn the anchor points to the magic that are shackling me. And then now that Batman has showed up, I'm going to get the world's greatest escape artist to help me out of these locks. And I'm like, where's Mr. Miracle at? What are you talking about?
I'm like, I actually looked then. And when you do look and you end up having Ronald, I swear to God, he looked kind of like Mr. Miracle. No, Ronald. I ended up tomato. When I saw him, he kind of looked like I thought all of a sudden Mr. Miracle showed up. But no, it's Batman. He means Batman's not the greatest escape artist. I guess when you say on Earth or of the world, you're just going with Earth. So maybe we could make an exception.
Scott Free's on Earth.
But but he's from when you have it though, it is funny, like you said. Laurie comes down. He's like, she's like, I think I love you, Superman. So, oh, God, I got to get out of here. And the play is too quick, though. But what he ends up thinking, what it felt like is he just gets super strength and ends up going. But he does realize the bigger picture. He's trying to break free of the magic, but he could just get out of there by hitting the coral and stuff like that. It makes sense, but it's something that he probably would have figured out right away. But in the meantime, you end up where he's back and he says, hey, thanks to the world's greatest escape artist, get this magic shit off of me. And then we have that showdown between the two kings. And again, it's the Floronic Man. And they kind of seem to know it. And then by the end, the problem is...
It's so weird, though, because you have the big standoff. Aquaman and Mara alone are able to take out all of Tritonus' forces, leaving just King Ronald at the end for Aquaman to do it. And the whole thing is, it seems like you could almost make this like, okay, surrender. And Ronald's all still pissed off, but we have everything come to a head to the point where it looks like Floronic Man is going to be dispatched because Batman has called in Swamp Thing. It's like, you know any grass cut guys, Batman? In fact, I do! And I've already called Swamp Thing over. Swamp Thing showing up, and we have a situation where he tears, Floronic Man apart. He's like, I can grow my body out of anything. So at the end of this issue, you have Floronic Man growing himself out of Swamp Thing, seemingly taking over Alec-Holland, while at the same time on the battlefield, for some reason, Superman decides this is the perfect time for Laurie and me to make out underwater, right in eyeliner for freaking King husband who's in a wrathful act of war right now.
God, so you end up where, and I felt bad for Superman. I mean, seriously. And Superman even has like that surprised look. He has the lines there because they're like, hey, what we need you to do, Superman, is get the hell out of here. What? What do you mean I'm Superman? What? No. You make Arthur look weak. His people will not. I love where it's Marrow says it. Aquaman's like almost looking at Superman mean, but I think he's like looking like, I don't know what the fuck she's saying, dude. But he knows what he's making her say it. He just wants her to be blamed. But the idea, like, hey, he'll lose the crown. And all of Poseidonus will suffer that loss. He's like, oh, shit. not everybody loves me. And then he's like, oh, shucks.
I do kind of want a
I'll
situation
go
where
then.
just because Mara's watching Aquaman's are like, look, I don't need you, space alien. You don't belong down here. I am
then
the
he
king.
cries.
I'm so sorry.
I'm so
She's making
sorry.
me say this. Please just go with it.
I'll talk to you on the Watchtower.
We're still best buds.
We're always been friends.
We're super friends.
Oh, my goodness. Because, it's basically
Get
like,
out
listen.
of here, alien. We don't need you.
It is funny where he goes and a landwalker, I presume. Yes, but one who can apparently adapt to undersea conditions. We have one of those already. I'm like, oh, it's not going good for Arthur.
Yeah, but this one doesn't bang your girlfriend.
Yeah, really. And that's what I think it is. After he says this, he's like, I'm going to go bang your fucking wife, asshole. But you end up where Mara tells him to go, and he's like, oh, woe is me. And I like where it's like, but if I do nothing, him and his army could lose their lives. That is my choice to make, not yours, Superman. You don't have anything to do. And he's like, I'll go then. He just floats away. And the best is that he goes, you don't go and start making out with the guy that they're fighting. It's like,
He's got some free time.
You don't do this. It doesn't even matter if she's like,
maybe you do. Just don't do it with an eye shot.
I'm telling you, the idea that this guy has, super hearing and supervision, but most people can see 10 feet away, dude. You got to get away. And I love that he's just like, woe is me. Nobody wants me. Oh, hey there, Superman. Ooh, somebody wants me. And then he heard how
my
lonely
husband
she
King has been
is.
so distant and making me so lonely, Superman.
And the thing is, in this, if it wasn't Lori, I would think that this was another dupe. I would think that this is her trying to cause problems for Arthur and Mara and Poseidonus. This would be like right from the playbook. I'm trying to cause this problem, whatever. But it's Lori. She is lonely.
But then you have this alternate history that we never knew of. Lori Lamaris was actually in league with the Pharaonic Man and loved his plant ass.
Maybe. I said she's more of a gardener. She's got a green thumb, she does. I just, the idea of it is I just wanted it to end up where you end up having Ronald, as I said. The idea is like, well, what's going on?
I just want to go Ronald because every time you say Ronald, I'm like, you think
Ronald. Ronald. Yeah, end up where the whole play is Ronald says, hey, what are you doing? Oh, you've not even paid attention or whatnot. He's, what, that cheating bitch? He's like, listen, I have accepted everything she's done. And then they show a flashback. He's the nicest guy. He's never done. It's her. She's a bitch, Eric. But it'd be funny if she was in with the thing.
You have this whole thing where he's the nicest guy, and ultimately he's just a cuck sitting in the corner watching Superman bang her. Just a smile on his face.
That's what he actually wants. Like, he's like, how dare you do this with my wife? And he's like, keep going. So everybody keeps whispering after the fact to Superman because what they really want. And then all of a sudden she's like, actually, I kind of dig that swamp thing. And then they go off. See, she's with everybody, Eric. But it's kind of like, I think that part of this issue, some of the things, some of the action, it happens way too fast. I do like the art, but because of that,
we defeated an army off panel in like a page.
Then Superman just breaks free and boom, he's there. Then he's next to Aquaman. And then all of a sudden, even the part where Pharaonic Man starts taking over Swamp Thing, it could have played out a little bit better. A little more like you just kind of see his head and he's laughing and stuff. I do like
the idea. This is Batman, Superman, world's finest right now. These are the characters that you involved. Even the idea of Robin being there because he is the sidekick, the boy wonder. But this is an Aquaman, Pharaonic Man issue. So when you have these characters, it just seems like Superman and Batman and Robin have nothing to do.
Batman is a narrator. He's a narrator.
And that's the thing is, even him being underwater, like trying to like narrate things, like there's nothing he can literally do because of the lack of momentum and the movement and the idea that he is, trapped by his air breather.
Yeah. So when you're doing this, also, I know you're going to say that it doesn't happen in current continuity, but I love it. Superman's making out with Lori, and then you see up above him, Raven and Beast Boy. They're fishing and kissing, Eric. Everybody's kissing now, but you end up where? Why would he do this? And now in that too, when you see it, this is not the, oh, Lori, you surprised me with that kiss. He's like got his head tilted in. It's a smooch, Eric. And then he sees it and it's like, oh, well, we're done now. Now there's a war out for everything. This guy's going to lose his fucking mind. But yeah, at the end, next betrayed. Again, and that's what Superman's like, well, you told me to go away from, you guys. I'm a horned up dude. I mean, this is back in the day. I'm pretty horny. And he ends up and he's making out with Lori. And again, there he is. Ronald's losing his mind. So we'll see how that goes. But at the end, everything happens way too quickly. And I think that you nailed it when you see that big thing of armor And then Seahorse, I thought it was kind of funny, but the idea, it's not giving me the feels. Like I'm telling you, the weird feels that I had when the Metal Men showed up and we made fun of the idea that Mercury always says that he is the, liquid at room temperature. Within the book, they even said the joke that we love. Like that felt cool. And that was like, oh man, like we don't see them enough. And like this just feels like you're at a point where like, okay, what thing can I do next to kind of Silver Age stuff? I'm surprised that Aquaman doesn't yell outrageous like 6 times from the cartoon either. But by the end, it looks great. But it's just that it's just there. It's nothing that's
it's just
bad.
You get Swamp Thing, Pharaonic Man, Lori Lamaris. You get Aquaman, Mera. You have some really great guest stars in the world's finest. It's just the story overall doesn't feel that inspired to me, and I just find myself having a lack of care towards it, even though I enjoy all of these characters. I just can't be invested in this past story, and it's a problem with this book in general, and it's one that keeps getting worse and worse as it goes on. The art looks great, though, but I'm giving it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I'll go 6.5 just for the art. But when we go forward, when we have this crossover deal with the Justice League and go like what happened before and whatever, maybe that will pick it up a little. But it didn't really work with Nezha and stuff like that either. But that seemed like at least this one was announced. Like, didn't it feel like with the Nezha stuff and then Lazarus Reign, it felt like we found out that they were connected way past the time that we should have. And then it was just like...
Then we had to force it in Robin.
Then it was forced in. So at least this might be, a deal. And it's both. It's not... And that was Joshua Williamson with Robin and Mark Waid on this. He's doing both the books that are involved. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. But we'll move on to the next book, Eric, which is a book that we were very surprised at when it started out. We were really into this New Gods by Ram V. Last issue, you kind of, not as exciting as the first, but still good. And then this one, he seems to go a little bit too Ram V at points, but it is the New Gods number 3. Also, Eric, take off that underwear. Ram V writing, Riccardo Federici on art and chronicle sequence. And it plays out like it makes sense, but Evan Cagle on art, present day sequence. Really, the show is run here by Riccardo Federici in my mind for this one. Francesco Segala on colors, Tom Napolitano on letters. And yeah, we've been enjoying this, and actually something that we don't really enjoy, the Fourth World, me and you think Jack Kirby's a hack is what you've said to people, and you won't even disagree. But the idea of having a New Gods book, it's tough. There's reasons why you don't have a lot of New Gods book, because it tends to get boring. It tends to throw characters in that you don't care about, don't know. And when this started out, the idea of focusing on Orion, who was going to go kill this baby, and going to Mr. Miracle to say, I need your help. I can't stop myself from killing this baby. I have to do it. Highfather told me to do it. I'm going to do it. You have to save me by stopping me from doing it. And you're the escape guy, even though we hear Batman as, but you end up, please help me. And then even from then with Bar to get involved, and you end up going. And this one, we take a little breaks on that to go and give you some info that I'm telling you, I've read it. I was struggling to even go from narration box to narration box because it was all goobly goop to me. And
the whole idea, though, is that you have Arbastruda, the benevolent god of nomads, drifters, fortunate winds, and promised lands; Nektar, the god of pathfinders, explorers, the unknown, and eternal frontiers; and Parzurin, the god of implements, invention, industry, all taking place in the second world of gods during this whole thing. Eventually, the second world of gods is going to go down, but old Parzurin is going to go and continue on and become part of the third world of gods, and eventually put half of his life energy into this prophecy child that will become a new god for the fourth world.
It's a very, in my mind, a cool concept and an easy concept to then muck up with it. And then once he said Olgrim, I ended up losing my mind. But the end, they were also looked like they were building
the madness of Olgrim from the first world.
They were also building a Death Star, it seems. So in that,
that is a Death Star. That's all it is.
So
like, the thing is, I'm writing down stuff. I'm like, here's this thing, the Zura-Uan. I'm like, no, I'm just calling you a Death Star.
It's the Death Star. So the problem in it, though, is again, this is the sort of thing that makes a book not sell. Now, they did a good way of doing this is wait till the third issue to give this. If this would have been like a full first issue of just this, I think a lot of people would have been like, yeah, this isn't for me. But this also does feel, because of the art as well, like the War World stuff. It ends up going with that lore feel, but also has names that you'll never know or pronounce and whatnot. And I want some editor to say to Ram V, this is all fine and dandy. Hopefully this is done. But the idea of this, it's too much. And it's too much for the normal people who are just like, hey, I kind of like this Mr. Miracle story and going to get the baby. You do get this background, you could have told it a more clear and concise way and not get as fancy as he did. It ended up looking cool, but boy, it's a slog, at least for me to get through. And a lot of people, even in our Slack, said
there's some cool stuff in here, though.
I
The idea where Nick Tar is consumed by the great darkness and becomes like to the point where he's going to kill his brother, and his brother has to make a choice to like separate his.
I don't think that I'm going to be saying 6 months from now, man, I can't wait to get more of that Nick Tar. It's just
he's dead now.
It might be cool enough, but it's not. It's names that you'll never remember. It's concepts that are just there to be fancy. I mean, this is the idea of I'm doing a fourth world, New Gods book. But I'm going to do it fun. I got to get back to the shit. And he's just going to go with this. And I think I haven't talked to a ton of people this week, but I saw people in the Slack talk to a couple other people, and everybody's like, I didn't even read this part. At least I tried, Eric. I did read through it, but nothing from panel to panel, from thing to thing made any sense because he had to, he had to chronicle it up. He had to talk.
Well, yeah, you had the chronicler telling Metron this entire story of what came to pass before in order for us to understand where this new God prophecy child comes from now.
Yeah. And with that, the concept of, hey, we knew this was going to happen. We're going to put half of this. We're going to hide it away. We're going to do this. This is not a new concept. In fact, me and my man Tommy, we ended up doing that Batman Book of the Dead Elseworlds deal, and it was pretty much the exact same thing they did, but it was the Atlanteans who did it. Hey, we're going to hide this. We have to wait till they can use it at the time of darkness. It'll come out. It was the same exact kind of thing. It's a very tropey, cliched type deal, but it does spell it out. But by the end of this section, and then going back to it, I wasn't real pumped. I thought it was okay. I get it. That's kind of cool. But it doesn't make me like the baby more, want the baby to survive. It just ends up being just lore that is just added on that I thought was really unnecessary to be that long. I mean, we talked about the idea of Zatanna. We wanted more of a background. I don't know that I signed up for this to get this deep dive into the, the second.
Well, that's the thing is the idea when you have like Pazura in here, the old god that would become the new god, like the prophecy child, the consciousness, the power that it wields. At one point, when he is captured by his brother, he realizes this is going to be the end. He splits his mind into two and sends two sections out into the universe. And then you have the idea of the motor and the praxis, I believe it is. Yeah, the praetor, the pater. That's the way you pronounce it. It's weird to me. The motor and the pater. But the motor ended up getting sent out to the point where it would revolve around where New Genesis would eventually come. We know that the pater would eventually become a god of the third world when it landed on Earth, and it lived through all the ages of man until eventually putting its essence, its energy into this child to one day, lead up at the point when mankind would need it the most, or again, like Metron says, might even destroy humanity or all of creation at this point. But I am curious to where this motor point of his mind actually went to. Because we know that it circled around New Genesis. It's been gone for a long time. I want to know where that wound up.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm telling you, I read through it and I thought, I don't give a shit about any of this. I just want the baby and I want them to go through the deal. I really don't care where this mind went and whatnot. Maybe it'll tie in to the bigger picture, but if it does and it's this convoluted, I don't care. I really don't. And I read through this twice. Still couldn't. If you weren't here, I wouldn't even know what to say about this first part because it was so convolutedly, just convoluted to me. I mean, upon eating his sister's flesh, Nectar proclaimed himself. The guy, it just kept going on and on in a way where it's Ram V. I said at one point, the guy.
Tell you that Nectar, he just got all messed up by that great darkness, Jim.
I don't even, I'm telling you, I read through it twice, don't know anything about it. And I said back in the day, at the beginning of Detective Comics, this is a guy who will take 5 pages to explain at times a guy leaving a house. And it's like, and then the forewarning shadows of the Nectar, this, I'm like, I don't care. I don't care about that in this book. I want the here and now, and I want to see what the baby, if you want to tie that in by the end or whatnot, that's fine. But I just don't care. I really don't.
You got to understand this baby that could change the fate of good versus evil, however it's going to work in the end. But this is a god that was created from the second line of gods, the second world, Jim, that moved on to the third and has recreated itself into the fourth world.
Yeah, again, I don't know anything about that and I don't care. I'm being honest. And I don't think I'm the only one that is here for, oh man, this is fun. This isn't ramping it up now. It is. And I'm not sitting there going, man, the second world, then they did third. And what does that mean to the fourth and all this? I don't care.
The third world of gods is more like you would know, like the pantheon of the Olympians and stuff like that.
Again, I don't really care. I wish I could pretend, but I can't. I'm done. I'm done. Then we go, I don't know. Where do we go from there? We go to Mr.
We go to
Miracle
Oberon's Island.
Yeah. I've lost all interest in this book. I'm telling you, I beg people to read it. I was like, this is really good.
I
This
still
issue-
think that people should read it.
I think that you should wait and see now. I think that this book is going to go down a path that is a fucking Detective Comics bullshit path that nothing ties in, and he's just going to go full out. I just didn't like it.
The big point of the book is that Orion's going to kill a kid, a new god that was born on Earth. And
Which,
in this
again,
issue,
we haven't seen Orion in a while now. Why not tell that story?
Well, I'm just saying, we now know the origins of this new god that will be the deciding factor in fate.
Yeah, I think that maybe you could have played that out as they went to get the baby, still not knowing what it actually is, and then finding out through whatever when Mr. Miracle or whatever finds them and sees that. But still, like I said, I still barely
even the
know.
idea when you have this child that has the source energy as it does, I don't know what it knows, because even the idea where it was found out on the steps of a temple, even the Chronicle or when he's talking to Metron isn't quite sure about how things played out, because it's done like a story. An archaeologist either found it here or on the steps. And the idea of this whole thing, it doesn't matter. But when the father of this child who took him in, he found him on the steps of this temple, and he knows now that this kid is special. We have to protect him. Fuck, we have Maxwell Lord's people on our ass who want to kill this baby and want us dead. We now have the idea of who this is, and I don't know if the baby, we keep saying baby. It's like a toddler at this point, or maybe a little bit older. I'm not quite sure on the age. I don't know what it actually knows about its past self, if it could explain anything to anybody.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying that they would then go see the baby and then realize through something, or they get some sort of deal with that. We'd see a splash page. I just thought that it ended up being a slog for me, and I completely lost interest in the entire series from one issue. And
see, it's a weird thing, because the whole thing that actually threw me off the most is when Big Bard and Mr. Miracle go to Oberon and want to see if hey, can you watch the kid, do some stuff for us, and Oberon's like, look, I had the Justice League create this device. It's a source tracker. I can track source energy, and the idea was it was going to be able to teleport you back to me whenever you were in danger if need be. It never worked like that, but I was able to find a new source on Earth that we can teleport ourselves to. I'm like, well, this is way too goddamn convenient for my liking.
Yeah, it was very convenient.
I tell you, I like all the lore and stuff. It's a little bit over-explained.
I
like a little overdone, because obviously the Fourth World is a tough concept to do, especially with a Ram V writing it. I didn't mind at all. Just Oberon with this source teleportation machine. I'm like, well, whatever. You have to get to the baby somehow.
Here's how I can explain for me. People are probably like, what the hell? I didn't read this book to learn anything about the Fourth World. I read it for a cool story that seemed at the beginning to do that. If you told me that, and by the way, we're going to get all this Fourth World stuff. And again, this is one issue, but I have a feeling we're going to get more of this. But the idea, I wouldn't have read it. We're doing it for the podcast, but I would never buy a book that they're like, oh my God, the big selling point is, man, you got to read this issue. They really deep dive into the history of the second, third, fourth world deal. I'd be like, yeah, that's not for me. I wouldn't want that. I liked the first issue really a lot, then the second issue a little bit less, but still liked it because it wasn't this. And then it becomes this. I'm like, you fucking tricked me. You tricked me, you asshole, you pretentious prick. And I mean you, Eric. The idea, it just ends
the
up
idea of the New Gods book. I think we were both pleasantly surprised, but I always expected stuff like this to come down the line.
That's what I'm saying. That if this would have been the first issue, it would have been a one shot. It would have been one of those hey, let's do something else. Because maybe it's just this one spot, but I don't think so. I think we're going to get more of this. And just as a deal, when you see this, you think of Warworld. I didn't like the lore in that shit either, and that didn't sell. And I'm not just saying Warworld, because that shit then went off to that John Stewart War Journal. Didn't sell. Nobody cares. And this will end up being a book that people were excited about, and then might go down the wrong path. I don't know if it's because of repetition,
us doing it all the time with making sure that we dealt with the Warworld and the John Stewart stuff and the stuff within those that I did care about. But because of the amount that we've dealt with it, I find myself caring about Orgrim and how he's going to reconstitute himself.
Because of this, I want to slice your fucking throat is what I want to do. I read this. I'm like, I don't need this shit anymore. I never in my wildest dreams would have ever bought Word Journal. I would have never bought that book. I would have heard you say, oh, get this, Orgrim. And I'm like, oh, thank God I didn't buy it. We did it. Again, because we do force ourselves to do the big books. So we're doing it. May not be our thing. You have grown to like it. I have hated it more and more. At this point, I've lost my mind about don't you get it? People, I don't care. Like, I don't care, but it's for everybody else. But again, I saw some numbers, and the fact that books get canceled and things like that, I don't think there's that many people out there that are really getting a real kick out of the. And also, when they did announce that deal with the House of L coming out, Philip Kenny Johnson, and there's two parts of the announcement. House of L from the future state. Oh, man, that's awesome. I saw everybody on Twitter. And also, we're going to deal with Olgrim and that. And they're like, yeah, I could take that and shove that up your ass. I just want
That's
the House
the only
of
part
L.
of that I care.
Yeah, and so I think that you...
All these Superman clones that have like one little attribute that's different, I don't care about at all.
The thing is, though, I guess it just comes down to me and the girls. We just like having fun, Eric.
Maybe.
You can never tell me that this stuff is fun. I mean, you can tell me that it's important. You can tell me that it's it's epic, that it's like a deep dive fantasy / like you could go and you could try to convince me all those ways, but you will never say it's fun. And to me, it's like such a reverse. It's the anti-fun equation. Anytime the shit shows up.
You don't like the lore, but when we get back to present day outside of Scott Free and Big Barda, when you have Carrick Dean, the source scavenger that attacked Apocalypse in the previous issue, now for some reason, that's one thing that we got all this lore. We did not even get to see any of the battle on Apocalypse. He's already defeated Mantis. All the other freaking like Darkseid lieutenants are on the run, and he's like, look, let those assholes scavenge. We're making our way to New Genesis now. I'm like, that's fucking big. That's pretty goddamn cool.
That's fun. But the problem I have, and I said to you, and meaning that when I said the other stuff, and I actually thought it was, but Barda and Scott, there's no room for them to do anything. They're there with Oberon. Oberon says, hey, I'm going to come with you. I'm going to babysit, whatnot. But it's nice seeing them, whatnot.
But they're also there to protect the Prophecy Child and his family against Maxwell Lord and his mercenaries.
And it's funny, too, like the idea, as Oberon talks, you do get that play of Oberon being like the bro friend or even like the boss that ends up where Barda's just pissed off about everything. So everything he says is like, yeah, you got that trap. Ooh, like she's staring at it. Like that was kind of fun. But then when you go to the part with the scavenger,
Carrick Dean,
you end up that's where I really got mad, because I thought you have now misplayed what you might think people are interested in, because that's really cool. The idea of him going and just ripping people apart, going to the throne room. You didn't get to see anything. You ended up missing out on that because we got a prolonged deal.
I'm a little mad, too, about even the prequel to this that you wouldn't even get. The idea that Darkseid is dead. The forces of Apocalypse were all vying for the throne. We all know that everybody's taking their own quadrant, their sector, and people are proclaiming themselves. Like, it seems here that, like, Mantis was the end-all, be-all, and I wanted to see that skirmish for him to really classify himself as that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think this is...
Because after his ass goes down, granted goodness to Sod and the female Furies, they're running their asses out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You see them. They're like, get the fuck out of here. Again, that kind of sets up a play that maybe you kind of join in with people that you don't normally join in because of this new threat and things like that. That's kind of cool. But I don't know if you realize this, Eric, but comic books, they have like a set number of pages. Like when you do a comic, it could change a little, but when you end up having that lore, it's almost like you're like, oh, I want to tell this story. And then when you get done, they're like, oh, you just used 12 pages. Oh, shit, I only have this amount left. And you end up not being able to tell some really cool things. And by the end, it feels like the issue did nothing. Overall, it did give you the idea of who the miracle baby is, that we say the miracle baby, but the idea of this baby.
The prophecy child.
The prophecy child. It's too many prophecy childs. So I go with miracle baby. But the idea of, hey, it was too much. You didn't get you still, in this
painter.
Book, how I'll tell you. How it is. We say all the time that there is an edict that if you have a Superman book, he has to do some Superman, right? Yeah. You have to do that. In this, I think the play would be, listen, people get really lost on these new Genesis, new gods, Apocalypse. People always bail. You have to have some fun. You have to have a set amount of page space to do some really cool things to convince people to keep coming back. And I think he lost that here. He ended up having Mr. Miracle and Barda and Oberon doing nothing. And then even fudging a thing to kind of go forward, like you said, a very coincidence deal. And then you get to see this villain, but that's where I'm more interested in. You don't get to see enough. It ends up where you didn't get to see some things.
All will be forgiven with what we have here. And I don't mind it like you do.
Yeah,
but all will be forgiven for what we missed on Apocalypse. If the next issue we can go to New Genesis and you kill Light Ray.
Yeah, now that would be great. There's a
all is forgiven.
This is the thing, too. When you go through the list and you think of the new gods, just in general, and you start naming new gods, I do believe that me and you hate more than we like, or we hate Light Ray, we don't care about anybody else. And boy, that Orion's kind of cool. And, Bard and Mr. It's just
That's the thing
weird.
I care more about Apocalyptians than I do New Genesis people. Because I'm telling you bring up the Forever people, Infinity Man, I don't give a fuck. Light Ray, fuck him. I don't give a shit. Kill his ass. Orion, he's fine. Even Highfather, I don't care for his fucking high shepherd ass.
Yeah, what a dick. I do like the art when you do see them running, right? And they are running. But I do like the idea that you get through the art that Granny either wants to pretend she wants to stay and fight, like a hockey fight, like the ref has grabbed her, or she really does. Like they almost feel like they're pulling her, and she's like, "We can't go." Like I thought that was really cool. But in that, I wanted to see, because here's what you need to know about a villain: that they're villainous, that they can't be stopped. And that's what you would have seen. Like you see, you said about Manus and nonsense, but the idea where I wanted to see what he does, what he is capable of, what he is ending up doing. And you don't get to see that. You just see them running.
I guess it was just too fast, man. He just destroyed Mantis way too fast for the eye to see. He's gods, man. They move at light speed.
Light Ray is. That'd be funny if he says that by the end. But yeah, and then at the end, you do end up having the Maxwell Lord stuff. And again, he's trying to put all the storylines in. But even then, it just kind of is like boom, boom, boom. And then they're firing a missile at this car with the baby in it. And Mr. Miracle shows up, and then Barda just destroys shit. So it just, that all the part that wasn't it felt very incomplete. It felt rushed. It felt like you should have gotten more of that. But in the end, you do get the lore. I'm done with it. I just hope we don't have much like that again. That many pages of nonsense.
We have the lore done for what we're dealing with now. This is an ongoing, so we're going to have more lore for new things.
This is what I'm saying. I wish at the end Metron's like, hey, look over there. Your shoes are untied, and then slices the Chronicler. So that kills the Chronicler. I don't need that Chronicler anymore.
The thing is, the Chronicler is doing this, but if we don't have the Chronicler, Metron's just going to be doing this to our ass.
That's true, but Metron, he'll end up, just get Pariah. Pariah can run in and go, oh my God, think of the children, and run out.
Don't ever bring a Pariah.
Just crying.
I don't want him crying. Tell me about
just have him crying. He's very quick to it, though. At least he's bitching and moaning and he cries. But the Chronicler,
you're gonna die.
I just love the idea well, that's what you need to know. The Chronicler, he feels like somebody who doesn't get to talk, but every 300 years, and boy, he's going to take advantage of that shit. And it's made to be fancy. Maybe that's just why.
I will say going forward, the idea dealing with new gods once we get past the mirror, because I really still am enjoying this story arc so far. I can't wait to see where it goes. But moving on with further new gods arc, I do hope that Ram V is able to go back and do stuff that Tom Taylor did with the idea that one guy from the Revolutionaries during a Suicide Squad run, Jog, is the son of the Black Racer. I want to see how that plays out because we didn't get enough of that.
I have a that might not be something Ram V dips into. I don't know. That seems like too not fancy for him or something.
But it could be.
Yeah, I think that you're the funniest thing. Once you started saying that, there's people who are like, where the hell is he going? Oh, Jog. The idea that legit, the amount of people who want a New Gods book like this, in my mind, I don't speak for New Gods fans because I'm not one, but the idea is very low. The amount of people who every day are wondering what happened to Jog, lower.
And not even that, but you even brought it up, but the idea that Light Ray is the Tangent Universe's Flash that we had in the Action Comics or Superman, I forget which one it was, but that was just shelved and we did nothing with it. I wish that and the Tangent OMAC would come back for this and it would mean something.
Well, the thing is, Light Ray you ended up setting that up for War World. They go off to War World and it got completely shoved aside because it wasn't Philip Kennedy Johnson's thing. That was more of a Grant Morrison thing. And boy, speaking of a guy who I do like, me and Gray are talking about Morrison stuff, but this is the sort of shit that is like a Morrison type deal, deep dive that ends up where it just doesn't have the charm of it. But again, if Grant Morrison was writing this, I probably wouldn't be able to read it either. New God stuff just doesn't interest me. And the way it's presented here is why I just think it's a little over my head. It's more of a cerebral thing and I'm a dummy and I just like action and fun and whatnot. And this book had it. And it has not even that. This book has a really good deal of us looking forward to tons of action. And what is this? But it's never the stuff where I'm like, boy, I wonder what happened with the second Mortal Gods to go to there. I
don't mind any of that, but ultimately I am here for the free family to see what they're going to be up to.
Also, just to piss people off even more, when these lore things happen, it's not. But Riccardo Federici has now got his little niche here where you're going to be the lore guy, and the art is great. But it bores me when it's combined with that narration and just have people glaring and that person's looking with his four hands.
Hey, look at that weird alien guy.
Look at Nictar. He's there. He's got the hands going, very handsy.
Man, that second world god's so
look
weird.
Look at that deal. And in the meantime, I'm looking and it's like, combined, it's probably about 8 pages. It felt like 8 years. So by the end, I was not real impressed. Again, I've read 2 things. The one thing was that Book of the Dead, almost the exact same story that this baby has. But then also there was something else, and I couldn't remember what it was. But it's the same kind of deal with this. Hey, we'll hide this in not in plain sight, but we'll hide this in a baby and
what Dr. Manhattan did with the mime and marionette's son Clark and gave him half his power and gave it to Night.
It's the exact story.
It's Silk Spectre.
Yeah. There was something else. I thought it was like a
Dr. Manhattan thing. Named him Clark.
Yeah. That's the way to. I guess there's a lot of Clarks, but yeah. Well, what would you give this?
That's the thing. It's not even a way to hide him because I'm telling you, he's a little boy with a freaking Dr. Manhattan symbol on his forehead.
Yeah, that's true. You better get bangs going. I know that people nowadays they're yelling about that Absolute Flash because he has bangs, and earrings and stuff. But the idea you need bangs there. You need the bangs, or wear a cap. Wear a cap a lot. But what would you give this?
I enjoyed this issue still. I think the overall parts was a little off, and some of the lore, obviously, it gets a little bit overly done. But again, I still enjoy it. 7.3 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm a 5.5. But if you like that sort of thing, boy, you're going to love it. You're going to be like loving life. But it's just not my thing. It bored the shit out of me in a book that wasn't boring and actually shocked me, coming from that long detective run that we didn't like so much and going
Not
in.
At all.
I said to people, this felt like Ram V not writing a DC book. It actually felt like him writing an indie book because these characters aren't as well known and he can kind of have some fun with them. And then you get the lore and I'm like, I don't know, is this now more of an indie book the deal, or is it that he had to? I don't know. I just didn't like it. But when we go off, we'll see what we think of the next book. Eric, what are we talking about next?
The Question, All Along the Watchtower, number 4, written by Alex Segura with art by Cian Torme, Ruel Fernandez, Rami Alfaro Jr., and Sweet Willie Schubert. And Jim, don't worry, because you like that action. Here it is, nonstop just for you.
See, this is the thing. There's
you like to have fun? You like action? All up in here for you. The Question.
Fun. This isn't fun. This issue.
You have Batwoman, The Question, Animal Man going against a robot conduit, a freaking mind-controlled Nightshade, an Eradicator, and a cyborg Superman. What do you want, Jim?
Well, that I would probably want fun. This is a whole.
We mentioned Dead
This is a whole different, cup of meat, as they say. There's nonsense
Who
in this.
has a cup of meat?
It was in the Quinn the Mighty Eskimo song.
You can't have your pudding if you don't eat your cup of meat.
So you have this going on. This is the issue where somebody finally got to Alex Segura, and there's a bunch of points in this where these things that were like, what you say? Like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. He's just going to mention them and say that's just how they are. Like
I'm telling you, talk about hand waving right here.
Oh,
and
my
the
God.
idea, we do it through the art, the idea, because we complain nonstop, where it's like Cyborg Superman is the end-all, be-all, big bad of this All Along the Watchtower series. He was in the Phantom Zone. We saw that at the end of Mark Waid's, Phantom Zone thing, like a little eye shine there, let you know, oh shit, things coming down the line. And then the idea that he was released.
We were so dumb we didn't know it was him. Because we didn't really think of that, right?
Well, not even the idea. He wasn't there through the entire story, and I couldn't remember where he landed up at the end of the Phantom Lantern saga.
The weird play is, in this, he does mention that, there's so much hand-waving. I thought everybody in this book was heading off to college. They're like, bye, Daddy. It was so bad. So when you get that, and he says, yeah, I took advantage when they were doing their shit and, doing whatever I'm doing. No, asshole. You were there the whole time. We saw you at the end. And that's why it didn't make sense, the idea that it was him, because he would have been a heavy hitter in that story.
What is Mon-El, the warden, doing right now?
I'll tell you, nothing. I don't want to be political, but Elon Musk should fire his ass. He's doing nothing, Eric. The whole play of this deal. And you end up where Cyborg Superman, is this Alex Segura being clever? Or is it Alex Segura going, what? He can't mind control regular people? Oh, shit. I bet. What he says is, this is Cyborg Superman. Yeah, you know what, bro? I got out of the Phantom Zone.
Classic Hank Henshaw.
Hey, I got out of the Phantom Zone, and what the fuck? I could control people. That's the explanation.
No, not even that. No, the thing is, you have way more of a hand-wavy explanation than that, because while he was in the Phantom Zone, we've seen it depicted many times where Phantoms can, like, just be there and see what's going on in the real world. See what's going on,
yeah.
It seems like, Superman was doing this well, but was able to also interact with the Watchtower, take it over while he was in the Phantom Zone, and when he was breached from the Phantom Zone, the combination of him leaving out and being combined with the Watchtower at that point seemed to have given him a new ability to control people's minds. But there's also, it seems like, a device in the back of his neck which allows him to do this that's also killing him when he does this.
I think that's Marcellus Wallace's soul in the back. Like, even that, like the idea
which is weird, because obviously by the end of the Cyborg Superman, he's like, fuck all you, I'm going to create a self-destruct device, and this is going to be a gigantic failure. But the problem with that is Cyborg Superman's greatest motivation to anything is that he wants to die. So it seems weird that the idea that he should just do this until he dies, maybe that is the point, but this explosion shouldn't kill him.
But I think that it loses track. I don't know that he even knows that his best motivation is to die, because he would be fine with I'll control some people. He'd do like wacky shit, like, hey, I'll make Batman make out with Superman and laugh a bit, but it's killing him as he's doing that.
Even the idea, though, that they called this thing on the back of his neck a device, I'm like, where did the device come from?
Yeah, and even then he can control devices. But the whole play of the deal of this is just... It's so, like you said, hand-waving, and the whole issue seems to be the idea of trying to make everything a bullshit make sense then, and it makes it worse. And the idea, this is why he did this, because it was a setup. I mean, he was playing 8 trillion D chess, where he ends up where he's in the system. He reveals himself to be a problem in the system so that Batman can figure that out. To then call the question, instead of figuring out himself, he calls the question because Cyborg Superman knew that would happen. So then when she comes there, he can then manipulate and get out. I'm like, you get out, because this doesn't make any sense. And
but
again,
then also somehow Ken Kawa figured this whole thing out and didn't tell anybody before he got attacked by an alien with a fucking tiger.
Everybody's figuring shit out but Batman. If Batman ends up like, I think this place is fucking haunted. Like, that's basically what he said. I think it's haunted. It's cursed. I'm out of here. He's
Renee Montoya, you're the sheriff. Use your proton pack. Get the ghosts out.
Batman's looking out the airlock like, do I see headstones? Because I think they moved the heads. What is going on? It's haunted. It's bad. Doesn't make any sense. On the wing. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. And then by that point, they're waving the hand again of saying, oh, that's why they're not helping us. They don't really explain that, but everything's gone to hell. Cyborg Superman's ripping things apart. I still think that when Superman finds out that he didn't get contacted and it was the Eradicator and Cyborg Superman, he is going to be fucking pissed.
Well, there's no real way to contact Superman at this point, because everybody's mind controlled and Cyborg Superman has control of the Watchtower.
Should have done it before. Like the idea, she says, no, this is my job. I have to prove my... I'm like, get out of here.
It's just funny to me, though, because we have this new addition to Cyborg Superman, the idea to control minds, right? But it's killing him in the process. But this new power doesn't seem to be that end-all, be-all thing that you need it to be, because pretty much if somebody is mind-controlled and they're doing something that gets wrong, you just got to remind them really quickly why they shouldn't be mind-controlled, and they snap out.
Yeah, because that's what happens. And then in a funny sequence, because Animal Man's there, and Animal Man is controlled and trapping both Renee and Batwoman. And in this, too, there's at least 5 word bubbles in my mind that's like, that's the real question. Hey, I got a question for you. It's just like, really, now you've saved all these up. He's
pretty sure Maxine would question what you're doing, huh?
Exactly. It's like Money in the Bank. He's cashing the shit in. He wants to go to the fucking, WrestleMania 18 times. So he ends up where all this going. She goes, I don't know much about you, Adam, but knows everything about them. Mentions Cliff. And I was actually worried that she wasn't going to. But then I thought, well, she probably wouldn't know Cliff. But then, and she sets him up, too. Like, what would Maxine say? I don't know. She'd probably say, like, hey, what's up? No, what would Maxine say? What would Cliff say? What? Cliff would say, I know Cliff. We were doing, the Morrison run. Cliff would say, let's get the fuck out of here. And I don't want to be a vegetarian, Dad, because that's bullshit.
Cliff would say, let's get the hell out of here, Dad.
Cliff would say that and press go, keep going. And he'd be wearing like a Metallica or a rat shirt.
Definitely.
Wait, he'd be saying it with a rat's tail, reminding me of that stupid kid in the fucking Terminator.
That's the thing is, though, this is the first issue of DC Comics that really has spelled out the idea of Cliff being dead. Though we bring it up all the time whenever you see the Baker family or you have Animal Man to show up in general, the idea that Cliff, he could be alive because who knows what the continuity is. And this is the first one to really definitively say Cliff is dead.
So I don't mind that.
Continuity.
But I like Cliff. But the idea when you see the barbecue, you just think, like, Cliff's probably at the arcade hanging out with that travel, that guy who's going to save the future, right? And he's on his dirt bike. But that Cliff does hang out by himself a lot.
Cliff would have grown up to be John Connor.
Yeah. Cliff is off eating a hamburger, reading a comic with his dog is what he's doing. But yeah, they spell it out. But in the meantime, Maxine means nothing to him. Like Maxine,
and I'm telling you,
couldn't break him out.
Out of this whole thing, though, like obviously we're talking about Maxine, we talk about Cliff. We have the question going on: was the cyborg Superman taking over the Watchtower? The biggest thing I cared about while I continued reading this issue was, man, I'd love to see an Animal Man series where somebody resurrects Cliff, maybe through the rod or something to really fuck up with Buddy right now,
really
and
fuck
eventually bring the character back. Because boy, I miss Cliff.
He'd have to get his soul back, and then it'd be awesome. Cliff is great. Cliff is actually the one.
What is that saying about question all along the Watchtower?
No,
this is what I cared about for the rest of the issue.
Like the idea, again, where you made the joke at the beginning. This is a book with Eradicator. It's got Cyborg Superman.
Conduit.
It's got everybody's favorite robot conduit that we still don't understand.
Even the idea of mind-controlled Nightshade. Most people won't even know who Nightshade is anymore.
Let's stick with Cyborg Superman, Eradicator. You have this going on. And yet what we're excited about is making up in our minds how we would bring Cliff back. It's not even part of it. It's now, just I'm telling you,
there's two parts of this book, actually. The Cliff thing was a big part, and the idea that they called it the Superman Revenge Squad. Very happy about that.
But she kept naming it different names, though. By the end, it was like...
I just love the drop of the Superman Revenge Squad. I think at one point she said, like, it's the Superman Hate Club, or like she kept naming it different. At the end, she even does it like 3 separate times and names it different. But you do like Revenge Squads, you do that. But in the meantime, you end up having Hank Henshaw, who seems to be slumming it. Like it doesn't play out well with him. Like going, I outplayed you and I did this, when it's just the question. Well,
and
I'm telling you, there's some weird things for the idea, because you have the mind-controlled Nightshade saying, the Beatles were taken care of.
Yeah,
and then
Beatles
it's like,
dead.
I want you to kill them. Okay, the Beatles are dead. But the idea, though, Cyborg Superman just kind of like stepped down on Question's head, fucked her up real bad, but left them alive. Like, why didn't you kill Batwoman and the Question immediately, Cyborg Superman?
And then at the end...
The Beatles, they could do stuff, but still, why are you not killing everybody, Hank?
And at the end, it looks like he's mind controlling the Beatles there, and he's not upset about it. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, this book is a mess. It's a mess. And this is one of those books, again, I said, it's like our book. I don't think anybody's reading it. I don't think anybody cares about it. And I don't think by the end, where it's going to matter in, it's actually the Eric Shea conglomerate of books. If it's going to matter, it's only going to matter in the things that you like. The Atom Project, Black Lightning, that these books all are combined into what I look at as the nonsense crew. But you like those books, so
there was one of the books this week that had this DC narrative things you really have to watch out for at DC Comics right now, and it had the Justice League big projects in there.
It's in there.
It wasn't at the end of this one. Is all I'm saying. I couldn't remember which one because this one didn't have it. Because it had the absolute flash preview.
It's after that. You go at that and it says, enter the Watchtower. So, here's the all-in. And it's like, question, 6-issue mini. That's things. I like that they just call it 5-issue series. They don't say mini. Yeah. That offends some people nowadays.
Some people.
And, but the best is I really wish that in there, even though it doesn't go with it, that just on the side it says, Two-Face, 6 issues. Take that, Eric.
Why do I got to take that?
The idea...
It's not a bad book. It's just not selling.
This is the sort of thing that we talk about all the time that, unfortunately, it's weird. And people will think that we're crazy saying it, but me and you know the truth there. We'll mention something, we'll never talk about something. It'll just come up out of nowhere. Somehow it clicks in my mind or yours. And you're like, remember that side guy that ended up taking the Kumite guy, with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and there was that Asian guy who was there. What was up with that guy? And then 2 days later, we'll find out that guy just died. Yep. And it'll make no sense because nobody would think it. I was so upset when you said that. I'm like, man, we're halfway through this Two-Face. And you're like, huh, Jim? It's 12 issues. I'm like, I all the life got sucked out of me. I was like, no, really? Oh, God. And then
it was 12 issues.
3 days later,
you killed it.
3 days later, I'm like, It's like even Steven kind of. I'm like, all right, like I was right, but yeah, this book though, you go and
such a weird idea though, because you have the creator of the book saying, "Look, this might be the end for now. It's a 6 issue, but it could lead into the other part of like. There's no way that a canceled series goes from 12 issues to 6 issues is going to continue on."
No, and I think what he mentioned the Cy Spurrier Hellraiser book that did come back. Hellblazer. It did come back. But it came back, and I think that finished a full run type deal, the mini, and then it comes back, or whatever the deal might be. But when that happened, I even said, yeah, that worked out for Prez. That was what Mark Russell said.
Prez and Vigilante did not have that work out for them.
No, so when you're talking about the idea that it's canceled, and then he's like, yeah, it could come back later. To me, that is the Kansas City Chiefs, like the 5-minute mark of the fourth quarter, still thinking they're going to win that Super Bowl. It didn't happen. It's not happening. Though if the trade, sells, maybe. But he said he's got a lot of other story. And then I'm thinking, wait a minute. Does this mean that the story's just going to just end in bullshit? Or was it always... It's a weird play because it felt like...
Well, you have to understand, maybe the 6 issues will end the Shadow Hand story. And the rest of the 6 issues would be the idea of, the state attorneys realizing that Harvey Dent... Man, this white church was on the up and up. You go, welcome back, Harvey. You're DA again.
That's all it is. 6 issues of them debating. They're like, well, he's smart. Yeah, but he's Two-Face. Ooh, back to the drug. Well, he's reformed. No, he's Two-Face. That's Two-Face. All it is. It just keeps going back like Two-Face. Though if that is the case, besides the jokes, that it was 6 issues and then I'll give him credit that he actually, thought ahead and thought, yeah, this is probably going to get canceled. I better tighten it up. So I hope it does end well, but, we'll see. But this one, I mean, it ends up going so big that it makes no sense of nobody else. And they kind of say, well,
we changed Cyborg Superman fundamentally here just to have Cyborg Superman be the big bad who wants to self-destruct the Watchtower under Renee Montoya's watch and just to humiliate the heroes as his final, goodbye.
Now, with that, too, I don't know if Alex Seguera realizes, but what Cyborg Superman is doing and saying, he's singing Amanda Waller's tune that we went through an entire event that we just got out of that led to this book being produced of the idea. Everybody thinks that the heroes are great. I want to show that they're not. And I want to show that they're bullshit. We just dealt with that shit there. But he was in the Phantom Zone. Maybe he only saw a little bit of outside.
With the Brainiac
that's all
Queen.
He's saying. And also, the best thing will be by the end. If you end up having Alex Seguera, now I don't think he has that sort of pull.
Even the idea, he didn't get to be an absolute power, and John Kent took his spot.
Yeah, exactly. Now make him pissed at that. That could be the deal. But in the meantime, Cyborg Superman, the best would be is at the end, he dies, never to come back again. Alex Seguera did it. He killed him, and then there you are. One of your favorite villains is dead.
My favorite villain of Superman.
That's the thing that I'm sitting there thinking, and then the big play is, he's going to die, and you don't want that either, even if you don't like the...
As far as I'm concerned, Cyborg Superman has not had any decent arcs ever since he was a part of the Sinestro Corps and was controlling the Manhunters, and that was a long time ago. That was 20 years ago, Jim. Cyborg Superman, one of my favorite villains of all time. Every time I see him, he gets lessened like he's the Court of Owls. Maybe the idea is we should kill him.
You say Court of Owls. What I was going to say, we can make up a
at one point, they replaced him with Zor-El.
Yeah. We could... They did. Suicide Squad stuff. And when you end up with this, can we come up with a term? Could it be like this is his golden arm moment? Because the idea that KG Beast, when he came back in that, it was such a slumming moment. Like you're too good for this shit. And they can't do any. That's what they're doing here. Cyborg Superman's too big and good for this story. This could have been just Eradicator, maybe. Maybe that would have worked out better.
That should be a point to go through at some point. Maybe there's a sideshow. Maybe some people who are more inspired than us who want to really deep dive in things. The issues that were continuing on the idea that you took a great character. Because remember at the time when Killer Croc was first introduced, he was the biggest, baddest thing that Batman had ever faced. And then when Bane showed up, Bane broke his arms to show that Bane is even bigger. Yeah. But now Bane is just banging Jenna from Killer Croc is just banging Jenna from HR in a swamp town. How low can you go? And where's the breaking point where the character can never be redeemed again?
It's the limbo.
I like Killer Croc now, but he is not the threat that he was when he showed up.
Well,
Same with KG Beast.
You go with the characters, and if you just go by not progressing Solomon Grundy, You talked about at a point where he would die and he'd come back a different character. He could be good, bad, whatever, huge. Now it's just, he's just there to say his lines.
That happens very few and far between. You'll get a stuff like in Starman or even the beginning of the Justice League.
But Solomon Grundy is not a threat anymore. He's just not a threat. He usually shows up in books like
he's a cold open.
Didn't he? Yeah, didn't he show up? Wasn't he in that what was it? That one issue that he was like under in the sewers, and he just gets pushed aside. And I think
he was a playmate for Harley Quinn in her book.
Wasn't it in Wonder Woman as well, though, that they ended up having to go and he had that like thing in him that they had to get that key or whatever that was part of the sovereign deal.
I think it was.
And so they just went in, slapped him, and grabbed it and go. That's all he did. And of course, born on a money. That's all he did. There's so many characters, though,
that
end
Solomon,
up like
that's
this.
all you need to do, baby. And you're exempt from this list.
And we've talked about the idea. Me and you have talked at points where, number one, I've always said, since I haven't been reading comics most of my life like you, but the idea that a hero is only as good as his villains. The villains really are the things that's what sets the story. The villain's doing something. That thing, like a Riddler, you say it's really tough anymore. Riddler, whatever, it falls apart. But the idea of making villains, it's tough. It's tough to get a really, really good villain. And you have them here and you're making them chumps. Like you actually have them. They're there. And you're making them chumps.
I need at least one issue of this all along the Watchtower to tell me how the Cyborg Superman recreated Eradicator when the last we saw, Zod sent his ass away with the entire planet.
Yeah, exactly. See, there you go. This book makes no sense. Also, the idea, and I always go Joker with this one, but the idea that a lot of times you need to have the villains go away for a while, and then when they come back, it's a big to-do. But when you do this, it waters it down.
The Joker was a threat in my mind. Not even a threat, but the idea last time I really took him seriously was Scott Snyder's Death of the Family.
Yeah, when he was going to burn Jason's face and they wouldn't allow it. That was crazy.
When he just had the face belted onto himself.
Yeah, that was crazy. But again, if it's like KG Beast, which, again, he's KG Beast, but even Cyborg Superman.
Commander Star?
When you don't get Cyborg Superman for a while and he comes back, it's like, holy shit. Like, oh, man, can you get this? But when this shit happens, it waters it down. It ends up like, oh, him again? Oh, that chump.
Court of Owls.
The question, and Court of the Owl. It's bad. Joker's a big one, that the Joker just, they won't put him away for long enough of time for it to mean something when he comes back a lot of times. But we'll see. We'll see the deal. But yeah, they get Animal Man. Animal Man does, and he does a thing that I don't love when Animal Man does it. I like Animal Man using the animal powers. He does end up, he can convince the animals to fight with him and things like that. I always said...
You just want the morphogenic field where he can take on the abilities.
Yeah, and I always think the idea when you do that, it really feels like a land-dwelling Aquaman. It really feels like the deal.
And honestly, why not?
It's fine. But the end where these animals are just like going and attacking, a lot of times when you'd have it, when it's done better, he does have to kind of convince them and they're not totally, like, it's kind of a fun play, but this is just going to be, it's all surface level. I mean,
ultimately, we're fighting back. We take out the threats, but it doesn't matter because Cyborg Superman has already activated the self-destruct system. And it looks like Renee Montoya is looking on while all her friends are, again, mind-controlled above her as Cyborg Superman laughs on.
Yeah. And look, is that Ted Cord then? Next time he looks like a symbiote. He looks like a symbiote with those big eyes the way they are there. He's a
happy Spider-Man.
I mean, he's really looks like a happy Spider-Man. He looks like a happy symbiote Spider-Man there. Which one do you think looks the most kick-ass? It's Jaime, right? Jaime looks kick-ass
definitely.
there, right?
You can't have that Blue Beetle suit and not look
cool.
I
thought he was dead.
Especially in shadows.
Thought he was dead.
The thing is, that's one of those mind control things where I think that Nightshade wasn't actually she was mind controlled, but I think she was able to overcome some of these things.
But where I'm thinking, though, is
characters.
When does Cyborg Superman get pissed when he goes to mind control the rest of them and there's Jaime? I thought he was dead. Like, what the hell? And then I was going down. I'm like, it's so funny because they do talk about, hey, we should get Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Oh, no, we can't do that because they'll get mind controlled. Even though
that's true. Even
they're
Flash.
Not and whatever, but still. So when they're going down, I'm like, oh, shit, they got, oh, no, that's Nightshade. Because you have Batwoman, you're like, okay, like.
And it's weird. There's little things like that. I appreciate them using Nightshade. Even obviously, the idea of using a lot of Charlton characters here is cool because you don't get to see them very often. But just the way we're using them, and when you have the big standout as far as Cyborg Superman, you are making this weird choice to make him the big bad because you have to jump through so many hurdles to make it happen.
I just need at one point you have this side deal where there's Caitlin Snow. She's going and she still can't get her butter brickle. And the idea too, remember Nightshade was a bartender. Bobo's just sitting at the bar like, hello? He just wants a drink. And it seems at this point it's all shut down.
He's happy as a clam not having a bartender
It'd be funny.
there.
He like looks around and grabs it like me at Walmart, right? Little shoplifting makes you feel alive.
He might look like he has a lot of etiquette. No one's watching. His ass is putting his lips on the tap.
That's as he shits on the floor. I mean, really, he's an animal.
Fountain of Youth or no Fountain of Youth, he's shitting on the floor.
He's a fucking animal. But yeah, at the end, you get that. I mean, the idea, too, where you have Cyborg Superman, Eradicator. We'll keep going down the line, and I'll include the robot convoy. But then at the end, you're like, oh, no, he's getting attacked by Batwoman, 2 Blue Beetles, the Animal Man, and Nightshade that are controlled. I'm like, I think that Cyborg Superman's enough to kind of obliterate everybody. But
I agree. Should have stomped her head into freaking mush when he had a chance.
This will be like the idea where they keep bringing up the gun, but he used the gun. None of it makes sense. Maybe Mon-El will come out as he's dying because he can't go. He ends up doing something, and then all these people. Kate's going to break out of the control. It's just.
It's not a good series overall.
Do we have
but
two
I
more
appreciate,
of this, or is this a 5? Please tell me it's 5. It's 6.
Well, I have to look real fast.
I
what
look
it is.
now. I
remember.
looked at the end. It's in that stupid thing with all the books I don't care about, except maybe Superman, Green Lantern, Titans. I don't know, Justice League. We're not liking all these books, and then I'm like, should we be reading Challenges of the Unknown? And then I say to myself, no. That's what I say because that's just one more. It's another brick in the wall of nonsense. But keep going. What to give your ending deal? This book is so goofy.
I'd say, though, I appreciate a few things that this book gives, the layout it gives us. It's just that every step of the way, it seems like a chore to read because of the decisions that Alex is making along the way in writing the book. And by the end, it's like one of those things that I think we'll just immediately forget about when it's done, except for the idea that Cyborg Superman will have another notch on his freaking belt of what time that he sucked.
Yeah, that's all he does. He's a metal sucking machine. And I usually like that, but 25 cents. Mustache rides. By the end, I think that maybe it could have been in play because you did end up having the what's it called? The death metal, whatever the hell that last one was. Death metal, right? From Snyder. Yeah. And they opened up the timeline and things
say the Metal Wars.
Yeah, things got, well, then I think people are going to think Cyborg Superman is involved in something else that he sucked at. But you end up where you have this going and at that timeline opening up and things happen. I mean, lo and behold, Roy Harper was a Black Lantern for 2 seconds, but some of the people changed. Some of the things changed.
Don't blame the Metal Wars for that. That was Infinite Frontier.
Some people came back that weren't there. Obsidian and Jade and, a lot of things.
That. I still put that towards the Doomsday Clock.
Well, it's still, I'm saying at the end, that's when we saw a lot of that. Doomsday Clock, nobody's dealing with that shit anymore.
That is my end-all, be-all opening up of the continuity.
The minute that Jeff, but then how did Wonder Woman then open the continuity to win the Metal Wars, as you call it? Because that's what she did. She called on all the continuity to open up so they all attack Perpetua to win. You might say that the door was a little ajar from the Doomsday Clock, but the idea that, but what I'm saying is that was a clear-cut deal that you could use where I wish at this point, I don't know why Renee maybe would know, but the idea that she brings up Cliff and somehow Cliff has been forgotten. He is something, and this is what spurs him on because really
that is something you and I have talked about for years. The idea of what the damage of New 52
that's
did
what
to
I'm
the
saying.
Timeline.
Yeah,
where these other characters are introduced that like how did I ever forget? Even the idea of bringing Wally back for the Rebirth special. How did I ever forget you?
And Magenta, he hugged Magenta, and she realized, man, I'm good now. I was a villain, you fucking asshole. I'd rather be oblivious to that, but in that, because when
even the idea of Wallace West not being alive before the timeline was changed,
and not that they're going to do it, but it did feel like when we were reading and when Animal Man, it mainly was that Flash book, when he would show up, you kind of wanted somebody to say, but they're at a backyard barbecue. Hey, you know who'd like this? My dead son Cliff. He's not going to say that. Oh
fuck, Buddy's back.
But we wanted something, and they didn't say anything.
Buddy Downer.
Yeah, so it would have been a cool play for this to somehow. Like I said, I don't know why Renee, but the mention of Cliff, he breaks out of it, not just because, Cliff would say, fuck this. He breaks out of it because, wait a minute, where the fuck is Cliff? He's dead, but I don't even remember. And then that leads a search for Cliff and could be a great miniseries.
I agree, but I don't think that the question all along the Watchtower has the
no, it doesn't have the oomph. But if you brought it up and just thinking of the whole play.
Now, if you did that in a Batman, maybe.
But again, maybe this is something Batman goes through the tapes. He's like, it's game tape for him. He's like, what the fuck was the Question doing? Like, he's watching these tapes of the surveillance deal, and then he's like, yeah, what about that Cliff? But the idea, a Animal Man mini of like the quest for Cliff, and have him come back, like you said, a little wrong and whatnot, would be really, really cool. That would be awesome. But this book stinks.
Even give us a chance to bring back Abby Arcane and Anton for the Rot.
Yeah, and even could point out more of how...
And even Black Lanterns, if you want.
How Maxine is actually the Avatar. Like, really nailed down the deal with the Animal Man stuff. So, because I like Animal Man. I like the family aspect and whatnot. So, with all of that...
Wonder where Cliff's working these days. Cliff. I'm not Cliff. If I could, Buddy's working.
Cliff. I was going to say, Cliff ain't working. That kid he's never going to have a job. He's hanging out at the arcade. Buddy, I wish that Buddy was still doing like stunts and shit.
That's what I'm saying. Is he holding down a job? Because I want to say he's in a nice neighborhood in Central City.
Well, and you have just actually started rereading a bit of the Grant Morrison Animal Man too. I like where Buddy's like has no money. He's pissed off and he's trying to get some dough. And I don't know. His crazy backstory kept changing because of those damn aliens, Eric. But in the meantime, there we go. We're talking about Animal Man again, the more interesting thing that didn't happen in this book. But
nope.
What would you give it?
5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'll give it a regular 5. Only they're lucky. I didn't have Sammy queued up. If I had it queued up, I might have done it. But that's the end of the first section of books. It's still our book, though, Eric. We like to.
Why does it have to be our book?
Well, it's because it stinks and nobody's reading it. We
Animal
have fun.
Man's in there.
And lo and behold, we did it in the first section for whatever. It fits, I guess. It's one of those weird things.
The other section is all like Bat Titan section. It all works.
I just love the idea that it's some of these, like the Atom Project, like, but it's big. It says Justice League.
Exactly.
And stuff. Like this one doesn't. So it sucks, but
we're on the Watchtower.
We are.
The Justice League
Watchtower.
It's just a whisper down the lane of importance.
I love this. It's like, hey, Batman knew something was wrong. He still invited everybody to stay there, claimed it was safe, but he wants me to do some things. The whole setup, it angered me at the beginning. It's never been really resolved in my mind of the idea should have just been, she's there to make sure things are okay, and then suddenly this happens. Not that Batman knew something was wrong and thought the place was fucking haunted. And why would you get the Question? I did think it was, he wants to keep her busy because of her drinking, Eric, but who knows? Who knows? But that's the end of the first section. We're halfway done. We're going to go off, almost. We're going to go off now to the Batman and Robin Year 1, and we'll be seeing how that was, and then me and Eric will be back to finish things up.
There always has to be a beginning. There always has to be a start. You have to lose before you're winning. Every new hero has to play their part. So let's go back in time and see how our heroes start fighting crime. Year 1, origins and brand new tales. Year 1, old costumes but new details. Year 1, they can always be undone, but year 1s are a lot of fun. Some people never learn from the past, so they are always doomed to repeat it. At test time, Eric always left the class. He said there were no reason to take it. I wanna go back in time to see Eric in his pretentious prime. Year 1, origins and brand new tales. Year 1, old costumes but new details. Year 1, they can always be undone, but year 1s are a lot of fun. Wanna go back in time to see Eric in his pretentious prime. Year 1, origins and brand new tales. Year 1, old costumes but new details. Year 1, they can always be undone, but year 1s are a lot of fun. But year 1s are a lot of fun.
And we're here to do the Batman and Robin Year 1, number 5. I'm here with my man, Zach. What up, Zach?
What's up, Jim?
What is up is Batman and Robin Year 1. And it's issue number 5. And I don't know, this series has been pretty good.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. It's just that at this point, I don't know that we need 12 issues, and we're at issue 5, and it's starting to wear a little thin. When we get to this issue, obviously, you end up having a lot of things with this Grimaldi. Things are kind of percolating a bit, but the whole play is this whole dupe and who it's always Clayface. It's always going to be Clayface, and that's what ends up happening in this. I'd love to get a hold of Eric and see that he could run it through the continuity machine and make sure that Matt Hagen, Clayface, one of his favorites, is well enough to be used. I know that I think he died after this, when this would have taken place, but he did die recently in, I believe, Harley. They ended up having the Clayface clan or the Clayface Corps. And while we don't read and review that book, Eric got wind of it. He checked it out, and Matt Hagen was in that, which made no sense to him. And he got very mad because he gets mad at continuity, but he does love Matt Hagen. So we will get into this, though. It is written by Mark Waid, art by Chris Samney, colors by Mateus Lopez, letters by Clayton Coles with Chris Samney, which we always giggle at each time. And it starts off with, well, first off, a Clayface cover. That's pretty cool.
It is cool.
That is a cool cartoony, like horrifically cartoony kind of thing. And I like Clayface. We talk about it this week. We talked about it on the Spotlight. We talk about it probably when we talk about the Titans book this week, where there's characters that do get stuck in that rut, and Clayface is another one. He just ends up where if you need a dupe, you get Clayface in, and there's not a lot of character work with him. Now, this being a year 1, I don't know how much they're going to delve into it, but Bruce certainly is, not expecting what happens to him and whatnot, but he's also not expecting Dick Grayson to get kicked out of school. And he
didn't even last 1 hour.
Yeah, and he goes to pick him up and says, "What's going on?" "Hey, the teacher's, it's her fault." And the teacher said at one point, like, "Everybody calm down. You guys, this classroom's a circus." And Dick says that's a slur.
That's a slur. How dare you?
You can't say mean things about the circus. The circus is great. And Bruce basically says what we said, like, "Yeah, I don't think your teacher was saying that like that. And you're just looking for a way to get kicked out." And he's like, whatever. It'll be more time to do some, crime fightings and heroin and things like that. But Bruce says, "Oh, no," and then says, "I managed to wane the principal into keeping your tantrum off the record this one time. You're going back tomorrow." So he's kind of got a 1-day detention. But when he said it, I'm like, is he saying like Wayne as W-A-N-E, but they spelled it different just as kind of a joke or what? Because that doesn't make any sense. No, he's using the Wayne name as a verb. And then the best
Alfred's
is...
like, what?
And I'll tell you why this joke works really well. Mark Waid does not have Alfred say it right away, so you don't see it while you're reading. Like, you would almost see it out of the bottom of your eye if it was. So it goes through a couple other panels. Then Alfred says, "Sir, did you just use Wayne as a verb?" And
Shut up and drive.
Says, "Just drive, dude." So they get going, but it was pretty funny. But in this whole play of this, you end up where Dick Grayson is kind of in trouble, but they end up getting the bat signal. You have Batman go, and then Jim Gordon says, "Hey, I want to talk to you alone, Batman." Not that anything that they're talking about really needed to be not to Robin's ears. It was kind of weird. I thought it was going to be a little more like gruesome or something like that, but it just ends up with Two-Face going around, this whole thing that we kind of know, and they're trying to figure it out. And there is a file that they end up having that Batman wants a hold of, and Gordon won't give it to him. That one file, the Grimaldi deal, and he says, "Hey, it's important police business. You don't have to deal with it." And Batman says, "I'd probably be better if I did deal with it." But then they kind of go, and Batman sends Robin home. And again, why did he take him out? I mean, it really does feel like they must have been going out before.
You got to be Robin for 20 minutes now. Leave me alone.
It seems like the signal went up. He's like, "Hey, come with me." Gordon says, "No, kids." You end up, and then let's go home because he has a social engagement to go to anyway.
This could have been a phone call, Commissioner.
Yeah, it's very odd. And yeah, there wasn't a lot of crazy things going on there. But you end up where you do have a mystery going on here that you don't really realize is a mystery, and you can't really play along because he goes to this, Martin, what is it? Martin Koski. Koski, he is having a going away party. He's heading off to Europe, and hey, everybody, I'm going to go. At one point, Bruce gets in with them and says, hey, is it the ponies again? You betting again? Do you need some money? Are you running away? He's like, no. I just want to get going. And they shake hands. And if you're reading this, I don't think that you're thinking that this Martin is duped. I think that I was thinking was he's part of some underground crazy cult or something. Like I thought he was the bad guy, that the idea of this must go in with Grimaldi and whatever. In fact, it's that Clayface, Matt Hagen, has taken over the body. Seems to have killed poor Martin. But in the meantime, a tattoo on his wrist that I didn't even know was quite a tattoo, right? I noticed it.
That's a horrible tattoo. What is it a tattoo of?
I don't know. At first, I thought it was like a martini glass. Then I'm like, no. And then
I thought maybe he was wearing a wire. I was like, what is he, like undercover or something? Like, what
I thought he had a scar or something. It wasn't really well
it's
done.
So odd.
Now, then when I see stuff like that, I'm like, is this like something that's setting up later, like the Court of the Owls or something? No, it's that this Martin did have that tattoo. But like some of the worst mysteries that I've ever read in, say, the Encyclopedia Brown books, I talk about this all the time. I used to get mad. When you can't play along, you get mad because we don't know this Martin. Martin had a tattoo. He had it removed last week. That's the case cracker, that this tattoo shouldn't have been there because he removed it last week. I'm like, yeah, we're not going to know that. It was very odd, but you're there for the ride, and it's Clayface. So you end up where the big play, though, and do you think Alfred overreacts here? Because you end up where Alfred goes to give, late night snack. I don't know what I wanted to see what he's made, because he's like, here you go, Mr. Grayson. I took the liberty of preparing you a rather sumptuous. Oh, no, he's gone. And he's, oh, dear, sees that a motorcycle's missing, which looks really cool. And then it's like DEFCON 5 to yell out to Batman, pick up the comms. Oh, my God, you got to pick him up. And Batman's like, I'm busy. I can't pick this up. But in the meantime, it seems like Dick Grayson does this every other day. And he's Alfred is just losing his mind. I know he's a little kid. He's going out and he might get into danger, whatever, but he kind of has done this. And I'm even thinking the idea goes back to the Robin year one. Like, this sort of thing does happen a lot, right? In these stories with Dick Grayson. He got grounded for the same kind of thing in the Robin year one. So, and that's like a weird play, too, when these start swirling together because of how odd the Robin year one, and then also the Batman and Robin year one. But he ends up where Batman ends up seeing and is watching and seeing this Martin. Hey, everybody, have a good time. Hopefully I'll see you in Italy. And then he goes in and all of a sudden his face gets real dark. And Batman again says, hey, that's not like old Martin. Like, he'd keep up the ruse. He'd still be smiling. I'm like, I don't know this Martin. So I don't know what you're saying. But so he knows something's up, and he finds out that it is Matt Hagen. And you do see, it looks like I said, it looks like old Martin is dead. But that's where Batman's like, hey, Hagen, it's over. I know it's you. And he runs into this closet and then starts shooting out of it. Batman's jumping around. But then in the meantime, I'll give it to you because you go and see what Dick Grayson's up to. He's just going around trying to solve crimes and things. He goes past Selena Kyle.
I know. It took me a second because I was thinking, like, wow, that's a lot of cats. Then I saw the chick in the window. I was like, that's Selena Kyle.
Yeah, that seems like it's around the like almost like an homage to Batman Year One, the way that's set up even. But you end up where I do like it. It's like it's a motorcycle, but more of like a 4-wheeler. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a little weird,
right?
But it's
pretty
cool.
Yeah. But Robin's like, man, why is everybody not committing crimes? And then these guys realize, these Grimaldi guys, hey, we'll set this kid up, and you go from there. But again, we're almost done. We're more than halfway done, and not much has really happened in this issue. But you keep going, and then we'll go back to Batman. You just go with the Robin stuff, which is kind of I don't know, is it the best part of the issue? It's kind of cool.
I wouldn't say so. I had more fun with Batman, actually.
Yeah, Batman to me is just like Hagen, and then he gets attacked, but rips down. Yeah, it doesn't do much. But you go with this because at least Dick gets to beat people up, or at least avoids being beaten up. But you go for there.
Yeah, so Dick, he hears these people having what do you call it? A mugging going on, and so he's like, all right, finally some action. And before he could even react, the guy pulls a gun on him, and so he realizes, oh, I've been ambushed. So he just starts kicking the crap out of them, but there's too many of them, and
they overwhelm him.
Yeah,
I like when they start attacking him, and he does like the split, and the one guy hits the other guy with the bat. Like that was funny. Fun, but you go because he ends up getting caught, right?
Yeah, so, like, he's taking them all on, and, just there's blows coming from every which way, and then finally somebody hit him in the head with a baseball bat. And then, sorry, I was just going to say, and then we go back to Batman, and, he's still fighting Matt Hagen.
Yeah, and I guess maybe the play here, you could kind of go with the idea that if they would have stuck together and done one, like, they probably would have been able to do it easier.
Oh, yeah,
like,
absolutely.
If Batman was with Robin and Matt Hagen there, they probably would have been able to do it a little different. But Matt Hagen starts, and he's calling him the melding man, and he starts to go to Clay. Batman realizes it's Clay, but he's kind of getting overwhelmed by the clay, right?
I do like that one scene where he cuts off the leg, and he's like, oh my God, I cut off his prosthetic leg. I'm like, I don't know about that, Batman. Like,
yeah, Batman's like, he cut off that guy's in the absolute Batman. He cut off the guy's hand.
This high-tension wire that can hold up like to 300 pounds, I definitely believe it didn't just cut through this guy's leg, but thankfully it's Clay.
Yeah, it's Clay. So he ends up, and that's where Batman finally gets away, and you end up where, Clayface gets split in half as he's yelling, oh my God, he's choking on Clay and stuff like that, but he gets up and then ends up, finally answering Alfred. Hey, Alfred, what's going on there, Penny-One? And he's like, where the God's name have you been? The boy is gone. And it just so happens that he is captured by Grimaldi. And Dick Grayson is talking a lot of crap and says, oh, what are you going to do? What are you going to go after me? And Grimaldi's like, nah, I don't really kill kids, but you're pretty good bait. So I'll use you to get Batman. So that's the whole play. It's okay.
I don't know if you want to do this, Grimaldi. Last time Batman kicked your ass and he wasn't even pissed. Now you're going to piss him off.
I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of guys there, but there's this freaking dad with the hat on.
Hey, according to Tom King, Batman can fight 100 men all at once.
According to Tom King, he sucks. I mean, Tom King. I don't think that's what I say. That guy stinks. But, it's okay. This was just kind of
it was all right.
It kind of got Matt Hagen in there for Clayface and Robin's capture, but not much going on.
No, it does feel like it's just peddling water or whatever you call it.
Yeah, it's treading water.
Treading water, thank you. I kept wanting to say peddling.
It's peddling clay is what it is. But it'll be, and when you read it in trade, you'll not even realize, that was a full issue. You'll just keep going. Yeah, you'll just keep going to the next deal and it'll all blend together. But this isn't one of those issues that you're like, oh my God, you got to read this. Art's pretty cool. I do like the art. Grumpy Dick Grayson, he does draw pretty well. Like he's done that a bunch of times and it's pretty good. But really, Dick in this little school outfit when he comes out and he's just like, hey, whatever, teacher's fault. That made me laugh. Bruce is screaming. Everybody's watching too. They're like, man, that Bruce Wayne, I think he might get a handsy. He might hit the boy, but
oh, he does in Teen Titans Year One.
yeah, really, we did that.
This is what led to it.
I was expecting the social worker to come where, he got kicked out. What's going on? But
he kept it off the record.
Aware. Yeah, that's why. It's just a weird thing to set up the social worker and not have her take advantage of this, but it's off the record. So he waned him, is what it is. And so I think that might mean that he offered him a drink and now the principal is passed out under the desk or something. Like being waned, I don't think is good. I think he could be canceled.
It sounds like something from Wayne's World.
Yeah, it seems like something from the Cosby Show is what it seems like. But by the end, what would you give this? Yeah,
I'm going to give this I'll be generous. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 7. I do like the art, and I think the story is fine. It does suffer from just, like you said, treading water, but at the same time, it's not anything bad. It's just like, okay, he's wanting to try and stretch the story out a little bit longer. You get it.
I have a feeling that this could have been a 6-issue deal.
Oh, yeah,
like
absolutely.
most of them, and then he had to stretch it out. So this is one
it feels very much like that.
I have a feeling that this is one of maybe 2 or 3. We'll get issue 8 or 9. 9 would probably be the one. We'll get this issue that seems stretched again just to kind of get there.
I'm sure we will.
We'll see. We'll see how it is.
I don't know what DC loves giving them 12 issues for. It's like, it didn't work with Phantoms and Action Comics. It's not going to work here.
No, so I'm going with a 7. I'll go with the 7 as well.
I think the art's really good. The colors are nice.
Yeah, I like it. I like the art. I think it's pretty cool. It looks like that classic deal and looks really cool with it. So that's that. But we'll head on back to the regular podcast, see what Eric's going to bitch about next. But with that,
Titans.
I hope people enjoyed this. Probably. I don't know what our order is, and we're recording this the day before we record, so I have no idea. But if you like hearing the Year One stuff, me and Zach have a Year One podcast on our Patreon that we do when we're not doing the Batman and Robin Year One, and we're going to have a our Mr. Terrific Year One coming up as well. And so we'll see how that is down the line. Yeah, I don't really know that writer, so I'll see.
We know
how
the artist,
it is.
though. The artist, it's the same artist who did Black Manta, so take that what you will.
Yeah, I did not
Wasn't
like
the best
that art.
artist.
No, I hated that art. So there you go. We'll see how it is. But we'll be talking about that when it comes out as well. So with that, we'll get back to the other books.
Cold, with a fire they can't control. Through broken dreams we found our way, bound by the scars that never fade. We were just kids lost in the fight, but side by side we forged the light. Every wound, every tear we bled made us stronger, brothers and Titans together we're stronger than fear, bound by the love that keeps us near. Every fight, every blow, never sever. Enemies beware, Titans together. Bound by the love that keeps us near. Every fight, every blow, never sever. Enemies beware, Titans together. Every villain should know our name. Every fight is a personal flame. We don't just fight, we defend our own. A fortress built from the love we're known. They don't see the scars we bear. Every fight's a burden shared. We're the shadow they can't contain. A family bound by blood and pain. Titans together, we're stronger than fear. Bound by the love that keeps us near. Every fight, every blow, never sever. Enemies beware, Titans together. Bound by the love that keeps us near. Every fight, every blow, never sever. Enemies beware, Titans together. Titans together, stronger than fear. Bound by the love that keeps us near. Together, fight every blow, never sever. Enemies beware, Titans together.
I like that in the chorus arc, you could rhyme both underwear and rear in that one. I thought that would be something really cool. But here we are. We have 3 more books, one being the Titans book, this being the Young Heroes section and Catwoman.
The Bat section. They're all connected by the Bat somehow.
I don't know how Starfire's connected, but maybe
the
by
Titans
the
have
hip.
Nightwing, don't they?
Well, they do, but that's, you're starting to get like a Kevin Bacon situation here. The idea that they're connected through Nightwing, who's connected to Batman. I don't go for it, Eric. I say the Young Heroes and Catwoman.
The wife and son of Batman.
Oh, his wife. Oh, yeah. That didn't happen, Eric. Or did it?
It did. I was there.
No, you were not there. But here we are, and we have, as you said, 2 books with Nightwing, and then we have Catwoman. But we're going to start with Nightwing, and we'll get right to this because who couldn't resist talking about the Flyboys, Eric?
That's right.
My goodness gracious. I keep saying, I don't even know why I have to say this anymore, but Eric's liking this book a little more than me. I'm kind of bored with it. I think that the play it's been a bit overly goofy at points to then not be goofy, but then get back to goofy, but then not be good. I don't think it has a clear-cut idea.
I don't think it's all that goofy
in
in the presentation. It's just more the background of who the gangs are.
I'm telling you, you have guys running around with giant-sized teddy bear heads on. It's goofy. I don't care what the background or what that is. It's goofy. And then the others are, hey, we were selling the drugs and we put the fruit fly shit in. It's goofy, but it's more supposed to be hard-hitting, I guess. But this issue, I don't think I'm mad at this issue. It kind of bored me. But it is Nightwing number 123, written by Dan Waters, Dexter Soy, on art, Veronica Gandini, on colors, and letters by Wes Abbott. Me and you have talked. I'm not as big a fan of Dexter Soy's art as a lot of other people, but in this one, he doesn't have much to do. I mean, even half of the issue, you're in a fucking underground deal that's all grays and shit like that. I think that it's a bad misplay of having somebody whose art a lot of people love and not really doing anything with it. But you end up in the story, which is very quick. You end up seeing who is running against Melinda, and he's basically, and again, it's somebody who used to have
Bisogni.
tied with, he wants to be, hey, I want to be mayor, take down this Melinda. He has ties with Blockbuster. So you're going to play the idea of shit's so bad that they're going to go with a guy who's tied with Blockbuster.
What has Mayor Grayson Lynn done for you? Under her watch, all these gangs are going around. We had the Flyboys blow up a police headquarters the other day. Not anymore. If you elect me mayor, we're going to change all that shit.
Yeah. Speaking of which, he's right. Shit has gone wrong. Don't even stop there. The whole idea of the prison shit going down. There was a serial killer that was running around rampant for it seems like 5 years. Like, she's done shit about shit. I agree. I think that she should be out.
I don't know what Bisogni's going to do, though, especially with his ties from Blockbuster, so he's obviously corrupt.
Well, what you say there is most people
what a terrible
don't
name,
care.
Bisogni.
Most people don't care.
Doesn't have good mouthfeel.
Sounds like some real shitty pasta dish. Hey, give me
What's
the Bisogni. They're like, boss, you know that gives you the stomach aches. Hey, I don't hire you to be my personal advisor. Get the fuck out of here. Right? Is that good? Bisogni.
I just feel like, it's me making spaghetti with bologna and ketchup.
That's what I'm saying. And you could have that sauce, but no, it would be bologna and ketchup. And then there's Bisogni. He's like, hey, where's Johnny? He was right. This shit is hurt my stomach.
And the thing is, obviously, if I was an older boy in the scenario, I'd call it garbage. But since I'm a little boy and I don't know any better, Bobby, I love you, Bisogni.
Oh, yeah, it would be. and then the thing is, she's like, what are you, a moron? It's Bisogni. You pronounced it wrong the whole time. Like, I just love this Bisogni, Bobby. Give me
For some reason, I'm telling you, the thing is, it's almost a joke, but it also isn't, because as a child, I would not eat bologna. But when my mother says, oh, no, this isn't bologna, this is bologna, for some reason, that was okay, and I ate it.
So there you go. Yeah, Bisogni. And then, unfortunately, because in this scenario, you're poor, and then, 5 months later, it's like, oh, Mom, we're having Bisogni again. Oh, no, this is Bisogni. Oh, that's good stuff, Mom. See, that's the continuity of you as a kid. Oh, Mommy.
Very smart.
I want extra. She's like, no, you've had enough there, fatty.
So.
Oh, no. Didn't you? Hey, kid, by the way, can you spell zucchini? No, I spell it R-A. No, stop, son. You end up with all this with Bisogni doing this hate. It is what we love. We love the idea of attack ads, but they really are true. He doesn't have to reach very far with it.
But even the idea of this attack ad, it seems like Bisogni might also be with Spheric Solutions to do kind of a check and balance the situation, because obviously Spheric Solutions wants to have control over Mayor Grayson Lynn at this point. And this campaign is going out there smearing her and everything she's done for the city of Bloodhaven to the point where she's willing to double down with Spheric Solutions and Olivia Pierce to get all the Helios weapons out in the streets.
And even if it wasn't that, and it says, hey, even if it isn't that, Spheric Solutions is definitely taking advantage of all the shit.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And seriously, when we talk about the cities of the DCU and we talk about, where would you want to live? We always say Central City. Maybe Ivytown would be great. Nobody, you're going to Gotham before. Bloodhaven's worse. Like, Bloodhaven's worse. And what I was going to say is what always happens in these situations where it always feels a little smaller, obviously. But it always feels like the bad guys are always in cahoots with everybody. And it's always everybody against, like, Nightwing and the police department and whatnot. And that's kind of what it feels like here. But the whole play is that it is making Melinda like, I'll get these things. Now, in the meantime, if it was just a power move, you would almost think that at this point you would have Spheric Solutions say, hey, we'll give this to you for free. We don't like this Bisogni guy. It has bad mouthfeel. We'll do this. But she's definitely taking advantage of all of this to make more money as well.
Oh, yeah.
So I think she's
It's a
just
win-win.
there. Like, I think she's there as that person. Like, either way, it's a win-win.
Because even the idea of having the smear campaign was all based on the idea that they have pretty much bought the Flyboys and had this one Flyboy buzzer shoot up and bomb this police station to the point where, like, now Bisogni come out. Look what they're doing on her watch.
And it is funny. Like, Bisogni comes out here and really didn't need, like, shit was already bad for Melinda. She was already full out, like, I got to do this. And I'm wondering where, like, she did have her press conferences, but not as fancy or eye-catching as Bisogni, who seems to be...
looks like a TED Talk.
I'm telling you, Bisogni feels like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's in this, but he also has the shades put, like, it looks really shady. And I'm not even making a joke about the shade. Like, he feels like he's like a noir cop doing this. I don't even get what's happening, but it does look like a TED Talk. Get the next slide. That's Melinda. Look at her. And obviously, look, you have Flyboy. Then you have Melinda, and it's like, give me the one where she looks like a bitch because she looks pissed. And then give me my best one. He's smiling. Oh, it's good. Good optics there.
Politics.
I love Melinda's there all pissed off. It'd be funny if, like, she's just, like, stepping out in the morning and she's, like, all, like, rollers in her hair and shit like that. Look, she can't even get prepared for the job. But yeah, you end up having Spheric Solutions being the bad guys and gals, so they're going to be doing this. In the meantime, Nightwing is trying to figure out what he can do with these teddies. And he goes
pretty much keep them safe in one of his safe houses where one of the Teddy boys is going to name his new lab bunny Night Hair. So we have Night Bite and Night Hair.
Yeah, and I think that is just a force deal, and it's not going to stick. It's not sticking at all. Though I do think if I'm Nightwing, one of my favorite characters, I go into my safe deal. First off, it looks like we're playing Fast and the Furious here. And you go down, and a guy is shining as Machete. I start saying, like, whoa, bro, like, what's going on here? This guy's just like, yeah, getting this machete ready. I call her old Shirley. I'm like, what is he doing with this thing?
This Teddy has to, like, polish and sharpen his machete because for some reason this is how he works on his cars.
Well, exactly.
Because that's what the rest of the Teddies are doing. They got the hoods up.
He goes over to the car and hits the car, and you hear that.
Motherfuckers got to have those gigantic teddy bear masks on working on their cars.
Yeah, seriously. They can't see shit. The one guy's like, I think,
I don't know why it's not running well.
It still ain't working, boss.
Hey, bring your machete over.
Oh, God. You're making me laugh too much. The idea of this guy, I'm telling you, you're there and like, I don't really know these teddies. They're a little on edge. Right? They're a little on edge. And I'm giving them a safe spot, but I'm worried that they might go a little over the top and whatnot. And he walks in, the guy's sighting his machete. And he even, what are you doing, Keenan? It was the Flyboy. It's like, he's definitely like, he's taking a machete to a Flyboys fight. I don't know if this is going to work either, but, I'll give him, class for, it's a classy move instead of a gun, but still, he's got a machete. I would love if he goes over and he's like, I got to fix this tire. And he slashes it. He's like, that didn't work either. I don't know what we're going to do. We have a big rundown with the T-Birds there and their fucking grease lightning. Yeah, it's funny with the Fast and Furious.
I'm telling you, the thing is, that Nightwing is so relieved when the Flyboys contact him to come, talk to him because he doesn't want to be a part of this fucking Teddy shit anymore.
And he also now he has friends.
just leave these guys behind. Do your machete car jobs. I got to go talk to the Fly people, the Jeff Goldblums.
You know why they're trying to fix the cars in the first place? Because they were riding around with those fucking masks and see shit. Like, my peripheral vision is terrible. But yeah, he gets the call.
Twisted Metal lied to me.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, really. So that he goes off. This will tie into some past continuity, so I'm sure it'll float your boat.
Sure did.
But they end up, to me, this is just something that he...
How crazy is it? The idea that we go to this underground bunker in Bloodhaven. It's not on any blueprints. Barbara Gordon doesn't have any idea on what this is. The idea that after the chemo attack that happened back in 2006, all the people that were just poisoned by this thing, the radiation, the toxins, all the dead bodies were moved to this underground bunker to keep them safe while they cleaned up the city. And now it's just this place where it's pretty much just been left to rot.
Now, change that to the idea that Ace Chemical had done a nerve toxin type experiment and ended up making people so they can't feel, so they sent them to this outside of Gotham town.
We're not dealing with dark patterns.
That's all it is, and he wrote both. It's just that again. It is a play where he's going with that whole chemo attack and going with it. By the way, I didn't correct him, but Zach, when we were talking, and I believe it might even be on the thing, he says chemo. And it made me giggle because that's what you said. I didn't want to correct him or anything, but it did make me laugh because he's going your route. But the idea of this being, it does tie in something, but it ties in something to then make everything weird. Because the idea of these flyboys, they ended up, and it does say Dr. Proboscis or whatever, a little better. Yeah, a little better than all the baloney guy. But the idea, Bologna, but the idea of, he was making drugs. We're gonna get. I need a crew, so I'm gonna get drug addicts, but instead I'm gonna put drugs in. I'll put the DNA of fruit flies. I'm like, what is happening in this book? And did that, but now they're mutated even more.
Dr. Proboscis was going to sell a drug. He was creating a new drug, but what do you need when you create a drug? You need drug addicts. So enter the fruit fly DNA to the drug to change the people's DNA to make them even more addicted to the whole situation.
And then makes them his gang, though.
There are drawbacks where you will get, again, you'll get some super strength, stuff like that, but you start mutating to the point where you look like one of the fly boys that have zzz at the end of all your goddamn sentences.
Yeah, you do that. Right?
One of our, fly boys ladies here, she's like, I don't want to be a goddamn mutant fly boy for the rest of my life. So if Buzzer was going to go and, blow up that police station, Spheric Solutions, they were going to give us this lab to work on all the stuff so I could actually be a goddamn person again and not say zzz at the end of all my sentences. The problem is they gave us this bunker and all the toxins that are in here, they're mutating us further to the point where we have brundle flies that are just rampaging throughout the place.
Now we have ambush bugs running around like fucking assholes.
That would be fun.
And again, the idea of this is that Proboscis, he ends up like he's making drugs. So he wants people to be addicted. First off, it seems like they already would be. But then he adds fruit fly DNA. But then decides, boy, this kind of is cool. I'm going to make them my gang. None of it makes sense to me. The idea, like, they'll be my gang. Now they're the gang. But now Proboscis is dead, so it's them. You didn't really have, like, when all the big leaders died, you really didn't have much of a power vacuum or one of the groups like, hey, what do we do now, clean cut boys? We don't know what to do. Like, everybody just kind of went as it was. And now you have the flyboys who you have to up it. I'm like, this book ends up upping things that I don't think need upped and doesn't make it any better. It makes it almost goofy. But he goes in and they're mutated flyboys because now they're
berserkers.
And this is what happens. I mean, you're a flyboy. Everybody's got camaraderie. The minute that somebody changes a little, you're fucking hateful to them. This girl's like, I don't want to be these assholes.
I don't want to be those assholes either. They're all just hanging on the freaking ceilings waiting for someone to come in so they can, like, berserk and almost eat them.
If it's me and I'm sitting there with this girl and she's buzzing it up, right? She's buzzing. And she's like, man, I better find a cure because I don't want to be like them. I'm like, bitch, I don't want to be like us. Like, why weren't we doing this before? This sucks.
I'm just saying that once Nightwing leaves this whole thing, he better go to a doctor and get checked out.
Damn right. He better. Because
obviously he doesn't have fruit fly DNA in his system to account, to interact with the toxins of the charnel house that we're in. But there's some bad shit that could be happening.
I wasn't even thinking of that. I thought you were saying he's going to turn into a fly, that it would be like almost like when Brother Eye shows up and all of a sudden he says I, E-Y-E. When you have this, he then's like, hey, you're really sexy. And then you're, oh no, he's a fly. But in that, I don't know why. He ends up calling Barbara and say, hey, beautiful. I
don't know why that bothers you so much.
I think that's
Is it because he has a healthy relationship?
No, you wouldn't do that on comms. You wouldn't do that. The reason why you don't say, hey, Barbara, because people might be listening and they might be able to learn. You say beautiful, there's a connection there, and you start looking into shit. I don't like it.
What do you look into?
Well, you say that I listen, they must be a couple. They must have some romance. Let's see who else is like that. Oh, my God, Barbara Gordon and Dick Grayson. I just thought it was unnecessary.
That's a leap.
I get it.
Anybody who has a relationship, it must be.
I'm telling you, you look at them. It's not a full stretch to say Dick Grayson and Nightwing. You end up going, and then you just kind of connect the things there. I'm telling you, you don't sit there. Batman better not hear that shit. It's like, you know.
You might even have a problem with him calling Alfred Penny 1 because it's too close to his freaking name.
I'm saying Batman doesn't say, hey, Nightwing, are you there? And he's like, yeah, I am, Chuckle Puss. He says, I am here,
they're going to discover Batman now.
I'm saying, though, it just seemed like it was something, because in this book, Dan Waters probably has been criticized a bit because you haven't had that romance factor in it because Nightwing's too busy visiting Flyboys and the Fast and the Furious.
I'm telling you, what Dan Waters
that's his way of doing it.
Is the goodwill of a Nightbite, a Haley freaking three-legged dog? Because you already introduced the lab freaking animal like a rabbit, and now you have the bug dog.
Yeah, not getting either. Either of these are just. It really feels like a desperate attempt to get that.
I might save the bug
Nightbite.
dog for an ambush bug later on, though.
Yeah, bug dog is. Yeah, I don't know. Even that bug dog is just like a green pit bull. He doesn't have that much going for him, but he's a bug dog. And even
he's got the bug eyes.
Bug dog. But yeah, these guys attack Nightwing. He runs through them. He gets almost attacked by Bug Dog. And you have this girl who... Crystal amazingly looks a little sexy. The way
amazingly?
That she is. Yeah, well, she's green and a bug.
She might be green and got bug eyes and have that toxic fucking, spit that's drooling down her goddamn mouth, but she's got that form.
I think she's still pretty fly, Eric, is what I say. But look at her there. She's there. Like, hey there, buddy boy. But she ends up saying, of course she has to have a name. My name's Crystal. And he's like, really?
How unfortunate.
And you go with the coffin fly. It ties in things and whatever. But to me, it's just...
the addictive nature of flies.
I don't know if just the idea that this book is this is an issue that's a transition. You're setting up some things or whatnot. But it just feels like you're just adding things in and not really dealing with much. Because these things, now you're dealing with Crystal, who wants to be. She didn't ask for that.
Well, the thing is,
I didn't ask for what it was.
Everything that Nightwing is dealing with is the fallout of what Spheric Solutions is doing, though.
Yeah, and again, though, that they're kind of still. We know they're bad and the stuff, but that's more the. It just ends up where everything seems. Everything seems so. Yeah, Cirque du Sin. Cirque
Which feels,
what?
I'm telling you, the thing is, we had that big reveal in the previous issue that didn't really wow me to the way I wanted, to the point where you don't talk about it at all. This issue felt weird.
Yeah, I'm saying this whole thing just feels like everything's just like surface level, and you're just gonna. I don't know. You're going to end up where is there going to be a hot mic? I don't know how you get out of this stuff because the idea of these Flyboys, they're screwed. There's dead kids. You got all that. We still don't. I mean, whatever the clean cut crew's doing, who knows?
Grayson Lynn, mayor of Bloodhaven, is going to double down on freaking corrupt police officers having jetpack rocket launcher technology in the city.
Yeah. I actually think that one of the plays might be to get Melinda out of the book. I think that maybe Dan Waters doesn't want Melinda in it. It's not his character. And, you kind of get stuck there with, this back and forth between brother, sister, but Nightwing and Melinda. And maybe she doesn't win and she goes on a vacation or something and leaves for a little. We'll see.
She's
we
on
like
vacation.
The character enough. I just think she's like, we're going back to, I can't even remember her now wife, I guess, her name. But maybe they'll go back to wherever. I thought she might have been Amazonian or something, some weird thing. But maybe they just go back with her parents or something and get out of the book. But it seems that. But in this point, you kind of have to be invested in the idea that you care about the Flyboys and feel bad. I don't. It's just
these poor people.
It just ends up being like, again, it doesn't feel like, I think that Dan Waters thinks this is hard hitting. I think that he thinks that it is because, like you said, it does have a really good, like, let's goof around factor. We did with the Teddies, but he's not doing that. And I think he's thinking of this as more of like a social commentary deal, but it's kind of goofy in my mind.
It is kind of goofy to the point where it's like, it's not like the Teddies, it's not like a bunch of kids running around as furry fucking costumes, but what you do have is giant berserker Flyboys running around slobbering over
that
it.
ends up
that
like,
is goofy as fuck.
Almost and that's kind of what I was saying, but the idea, like, you didn't need that.
As you said before, might as well just be berserk and ambush bugs the way they look.
That's what they look like. And so when you get to that, it ends up being the idea.
I want there to be an Easter egg where there's just a Cheeks to Toy Wonder in the background somewhere.
Cheeks is there, the one guy's holding them. It's not quite the deal, but the story itself to me is starting to get to the point of like a eight-legged freaks, like you said. Like, you hate spiders, but it's getting too ridiculous. This story might have been something where you're like,
I hate flies and furries.
Yeah, like this is kind of clever or whatever, but now it's getting real goofy and it's really not doing much.
But we have to save Crystal from her addiction of being a flyboy on top of the toxin that she's exposed to that
First
will
off,
turn her
get
into
her
a
out of the
berserker fly.
bunker. This bunker, and they seem to know about the bunker, and they're like, well, they give us this. What? Don't go in it.
Right now, Crystal is trapped because of the Berserker Flyboys.
That might be the play of why you even have them there. She's stuck there.
Because even the idea where you have this fine female form of this Flyboy Crystal, if she walks out, who knows what the Berserker Flyboys is going to do?
Well, that is true. They do look real horned up. But yeah, even then, I like where you have
I'm worried for Nightwing.
Well, at one point,
they gonna fuck him.
Because then he goes in, he knows that it's the Charnels, he finds out, and it goes back to the deal, okay. But it just feels, it's a call out, but I don't think it's that cool. I think that he just heard about this and then said, okay, I'll try to fucking force it in. I mean, it really doesn't feel like it's the progression of the story to get to toxic, overgrown ambush bug flyboys doesn't really make sense to me. In the meantime, you would want, like, her doing this experiment, it doesn't matter if they are their whole, she still would not want to be what she is. That's why I said before, the idea of, I don't want to be a fly boy or a girl. I want to get out. And then you play the idea of maybe, hey, I tried to get help, but they said it's all my fault because we did get this from drugs, but I want to go and I'm clean.
Who is the person that turns you into a fly girl? It was Keen in every way. It
was you, Dad. I learned it from you. And he's like, but bullshits. You end up
where it was me and Jenny from the block.
It's all going in there where I had something I was going to say actually that I thought was pretty good, but now I'm just making jokes myself because again, that's what it is. The idea then where you're going to have some action and Nightwing is going to fight some of these. I'd say they're flying men now, Eric. They have grown. These guys. So when he does, he gets the shit kicked. At one point, he's getting the shit kicked out of him, kind of. Like, he is jumping around and whatnot. This one guy comes in. But at one point, he gets smashed across the room. And then he says, like, oh, have you had enough? I'm like, yeah. Actually, that's what he does. He ends up where he's fighting a monstrosity that was legit a drug addict who ended up then getting horribly mutated. And when he gets knocked across, smashes a concrete bit and then gets him, goes, no, stop, please, etc. I'm like, stop it. Like, you just got the shit. You're fighting these.
He's got a concussion. Leave him alone.
Nah, he's playing that game of like, hey, stop, don't go. And then what he does then, yeah, that's what he's playing as. It's supposed to be a joke. It's not funny. And then he picks up what looks like it would weigh 500 pounds. This whole big of concrete thing jumps in the air. I'm like, when did he juice up like this? Maybe it's gotten to him. Maybe he is mutated because this attack that he does, there's no way. And then he just bashes this guy's head in. And then, the rest of it, then he's like, I got to run. Whoop, whoop, feet still failing now and gets out of there. But even at the one point, he's like joking around like, holy, vomit breath. I'm like, it's not great. It's just goofy. And it's losing. You seem to be losing the narrative of what this whole thing was to be just goofy bullshit.
I think I'm not even worried about the goofy bullshit because look, there's going to be goofy gangs out there. I think we had a gang in my neighborhood called the Pink Panthers.
Yeah,
and they walk
but
around
this
with pink
ends up.
bandanas.
Again, they have pink bandanas, Pink Panthers. That's ridiculous. But it didn't go that other step to then have this fight for no reason. It just seemed weird.
Ultimately, though, you have Nightwing going down the line of the fallout, like I said before, as Spheric Solutions, and the idea that, like, Melinda is going to double down on what Spheric Solutions is doing for the city, much to Nightwing's chagrin. But this is a down issue overall for what it has to offer you.
Yeah, no, I'm
but it still looks
because,
amazing as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, half the time you just have no backgrounds or it's just dilapidated gray. But by the end, I actually think now, even by the end, the thing would be that Melinda, she's going to realize she was duped. I think that she'll step down, even though you wouldn't want to, because this guy has connections to
Bisogni.
Bisogni. Hey, Bisogni, get me more of this Bisogni. He has connections with, but Blockbuster's gone. So what are those connections, Eric? They're mob connections. But that's kind of Bloodhaven in a nutshell. So
sure is.
I don't know. I get the idea that maybe
don't trust vampires or politicians.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't really been able to grab onto this whole thing. And I really, at this point where Tom Taylor, we said Nightwing kind of relied on everybody else, didn't do much, and you'd go issue after issue and nothing happening. Things are happening, but are they? Because it's just
Night
kind
hair,
of like
bug dog.
walking around. Yeah, and having 2 in one issue, you're desperate. I don't think that the sales are great from what little we can see. But the idea that I don't think this is going very well. I hope that we get out of the spheric solutions. But I mean, even the idea where me and you fought about shooting kids and then you break, well, they did shoot at them with missiles. And I'm like, that's so ridiculously over
excessive
the top.
Force.
Like, you know what I mean, though? That it's everything has been like that. The idea, it's not.
And I say
enough.
rocket launcher, it's an energy weapon that exploded on impact.
It's not enough to have rocket packs and you have to then do crazy shit. Then you're killing kids. But
just imagine corrupt RoboCops running everywhere.
Yeah, it seems like it might be fun, like in real life, but no. But it's like by the end, this book seems to think that it's doing more.
My ass is smoking too close to a school. I'm getting shot in the face.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. So there are benefits, is what you're telling me. But what would you give this?
I said I still enjoy this series overall. This is a bit of a down issue. I think the book still looks great. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm a 5.5. My scores have not been good this week. I know right now what I think my book of the week is, and boy, it's one of the lowest scores I've given for a book of the week, but it might be one of the ones coming up, Eric. Who knows? What are we dealing with next?
Titans number 20, written by John Layman with art by Pete Woods and Wes Abbott. We continue the idea where the Titans are kind of the lamest characters in this book, but the sad part about that is you don't get a lot of villains here either, so it's just pretty much going through the motions as John Layman is writing a love issue where we got to get all lovey-dovey with the freaking names that we're using in the credits, the little
Valentine's
lovey-dovey.
Day, Eric.
It's a Valentine's Day issue where it's just because of, Raven's emotions being what they are. She's an empath that is now projecting them outwards, and because she's so lovey-dovey with, Beast Boy right now, everybody else is feeling that. Freaking Arsenal and Donna Troy are making out unbeknownst to them. They're like, oh shit, we did not do this. We can't tell anybody. And even when Beast Boy and Raven are walking through the park, when they're getting attacked, she's feeling frightened. Everybody else is going to attack Beast Boy to the point where he has to become a lovable animal so everybody calms down. But when they start getting lovey-dovey again, everybody just starts making out. So the idea is Rachel is a problem, Raven is a problem, and Arsenal is the only one right. Nobody's fucking listening to Arsenal.
And the thing is, it's just these last two issues have been just the same thing. Now, at the end, we get a thing, but there are villains in here. Bixler. Eric Bixler, the basketball player. Yeah, that's his name, I guess. But even
I'm just saying, though, it's not a villain. That's just a piece of shit.
Well, he's a villain. Villain piece.
You're a villain?
Even then, I don't even know that that's the play, though. I wish that I could say he's a piece of shit. Because he does, they draw him like they want him to be a piece of shit anyway. But he is dealing with the anger that's going on with Raven. The idea he comes over and he's like, hey, watch out, somebody could get hurt, freak. Like, that's because Raven's already upset because she got hit by the ball. I still think he might have said that. Though when they start making out,
I think she's a little concussed right now and doesn't have any emotions.
When everybody starts making out later, I really was looking. I was hoping Bixler was making out with his buddy, and it changed their life completely. I was like, "Oh, where's Bixler?" But the idea of this, though, when Donna and Roy end up kissing, and then they're like, "Oh man, it must be Raven." Oh wait, Raven's not here. It leads that like, "Oh man, what's going on?" We don't need that right now. We don't need it. Neither of them want that. And it seems just a weird play. And it takes a bunch of pages to get through that to then just go with the idea, oh, they have been assholes before. But remember, we even talked about this, that is it already affecting them? A psycho pirate doing things? Because everybody seems off. I'm not so sure, because when he says now Roy's using specific things. I think something's really going wrong, because when I was acting like a piece of shit and doing all these things, everybody was yelling at me. It was kind of funny. Donna's like, I would be yelling at you too, and whatever, like that and whatever. But the idea, he's like, no, it's different. And then we see this, but we know it is. We know.
As the readers, we know there's a situation with Raven ever since she had her demon self and her normal self separated and then brought back together.
I love the idea that Roy is now going to explain a situation that Donna was there and he wasn't really. He's like, you know what happened with Raven when she split.
I hope I do, because I told you.
I would have done to be like, I'm the one who told you, asshole. Like, I hate when they do that it's so unnatural, where he explains that she was there, you weren't. It makes no sense. But we have said, and I still think in this issue, well, not much happens, really.
No.
But I still get that feel reading this book that John Layman has not read a lot of current DC. He went away for a while. He came back. And I think that he doesn't know the large picture. So when he talks about things, it goes very generic and then feels like he just doesn't know. Like the idea where this thing in the park, somebody should have said right away, wait a minute, aren't you that guy from that Beast World bullshit?
That's what I was thinking.
Right away, that's perfect. That's a perfect deal, because what you're doing.
Honestly, that's why I thought Bix was going up on him like that.
Yeah, and what you're doing, because that empath and the emotions, you're triggering things that might already be there, but you're making them even bigger. The idea that he hit Raven with the basketball, he's not like coming in and saying like, "Hey, bitch, get out of the basketball court" or whatnot. He's just getting the ball. Give me the ball, bitch. Yeah, it should be like, wait a minute, you're that guy who killed my fucking dad or my buddy or my lover or whatever it would be. That would be perfect. That would tie into something that just happened and be something, because again, Beast Boy's been running scared from that ever since. Like, people have been bad about it, but you don't go to that, which makes me feel... He was
running scared from it. He's kind of gotten over it by this point, it seems like.
He's gotten over it because I don't even think John even knows it was a thing, really. Yeah, again, this is what I'm talking about. The idea
absolute power hit. Nobody cares about Beast World anymore. It
feels disconnected, and it's perfect to do that. And maybe yell about Beast Boy and having that, like, hair coming out the back of his hat.
Well, even the idea of what you have here, because obviously people are being affected by the empath powers of Raven, whether you're in the park or at Titan's Tower, but you also have the psycho pirate involved who is like, could be doing the exact same thing. But the thing, he's there, but you don't know what he's doing. So you have no idea how people are acting or how they're supposed to act, because it's just a lot of people doing like strange things all at once. And you don't know who's involved.
What it reminds me of is the problem you have with the JSA, with Obsidian. Was he acting weird because of something, or are they going back to something? But in this, that Bixler, he means business because he's hanging out with Razor Ramon. The guy, look at that guy.
Got a hole out of this.
These guys are like, look at these. These guys are jacked too. Holy crap. But yeah, Beast Boy then's like, you want trouble? I like the idea. He's like, get away, freak. And then Beast Boy's like, you want trouble, and then just becomes even more of a freak, a giant gorilla, and starts to attack. And that's where Raven desperately at this point is trying to calm down. She knows that her deal is setting a lot of this off. So she's trying to calm down. Then she has to convince Beast Boy to calm down.
Turn into a Kawaka.
And again, this would be the idea. He turns into a Kawaka and like, look at me, everybody, I'm a Kawaka. You're still the asshole. Kill my brother. Or the group's like, oh my God, he's possessed. It's a demon. Like, I don't know that I'd be there and seeing a rampaging gorilla. But again, the Raven, like it seems to, but you don't know. You know what I mean? But it does seem like it's effective, because then they start kissing. Everybody's smooching. And this joint
here.
That's
the thing is, everybody feels like the idea, like you said, that John Lam's been gone for a while. Who knows what he's read and not read? But the problem is, everybody feels very generic here. You have Starfire and and Cyborg in this book. Nothing about them feels like Starfire and Cyborg. You just might have Starfire. Man, everybody has this peace and love going on. This is great, huh?
Yeah, speaking of a character that they won't progress, like the idea with Starlight. Hey, can I learn your language? Let's make out. Like, I'd go right for a Starfire. Hey, babies. I look over. If me and you are on the scene, I'm kissing the tree, and you're over there kissing the fence because no ladies are kissing. Or you're doing the thing where I'm like, oh, man, look at Eric. And you turn around, it's you're doing that thing with your arms to make it look like somebody's hugging you, but they're your arms. I'm like, oh, he got me. What a clever fella. But even that Starfire is like, I'm going to go and figure out what's happening. just flies away. And Cyborg there says, hey, I love his outro there, though it does lead to the one thing we're interested in.
Which is crazy, like, the idea. Look, we're going to go to Mercy Hall, where the Titans have set up Bumblebee to create a device to help, combine the two aspects of Rachel better to, make sure that her emotions aren't out of control and her empath powers aren't going crazy. Bumblebee has been working on this. It's not exactly perfect, but we think because of the situation now, this prototype, we'll just test it out. There's a bunch of fail-safes, so it shouldn't be a problem. But we go over to Mercy Hall, which was Damian Wayne's base of operations when he had the Teen Titans. And it's crazy because I even looked this up. I don't know if somebody added something after this, but I swore that the Mercy Hall that he was a part of was in San Francisco. And now we're in Brooklyn. I don't remember.
It is Brooklyn, they say, and they're there, and they're like, basically, we put a padlock on that basement. We ain't going down there.
That's where Damian kept his prisoners.
Yeah, it was funny that they do he mentions that. But again, that's something that they seem to try to be going against a little. But you end up where all this, back at the park, though, the idea that when you say there's no, Psycho Pirate's the villain, obviously, but people would say, but not really doing weird things. But when they come through, they're there to go to the park. Oh my God, we got to go to the park. And they boom tube into the park. And when they come out, they're ready to fight. And I'm like, I swear to God, oh man, it's the kissing bandit. Or they come in all cocked up and it's just people kissing. Then they have a conversation. Then they end up saying, hey, Starfire's like, hey, this kissing is crazy, right? And then they.
But the thing I was going to get to with the Mercy Hall, the idea that we go there, because even when you boom tube in, it's just boom tubes have lost all luster. I don't know if Cyborg has upgraded himself to the silent boom tube that we saw before. I think it was in Justice League Unlimited. But even we're at Mercy Hall, I was like, hey, you guys got this shit going on because I got things going back at my lab. Tell everybody I said goodbye. I'm thinking to myself, they should hear the boom tube open when you leave. They should know that you left.
Yeah. And in that, maybe...
And the worst part about it, I want to see what you're working on. Why do I have to hang out here at Mercy Hall?
This is the thing, though. In that, I think the cool play would have been is all of a sudden they hear the boom tube and they start wondering, what the fuck is Cyborg doing down there? Because that's what we're wondering. And it could be, played off as maybe the Titans themselves think like he's doing something weird down there or something shit, but you just do nothing. Then in the meantime, when they're doing this, you end up having to have the side deal of Roy's like, hey, because they're going to hook up Raven to a chair. It's something that really doesn't sound great, but they're going to mess with, give her a brain massage and try to figure out how those, empath thing and smooth brain. And so Bumblebee's like, hey, I'm going to go up and I'm on the controls. And I like where they're like, well, is this going to go wrong? And she's like, no, I'll be at the controls. Like, no, I meant, could this go wrong? They want to know maybe what could happen. But she goes, and then Roy's like, I'll join you. I want to see this doohickey. And you have, that's not me, by the way. I got knocked out in the park. I'm like, what'd you say? and also the idea of it's just nonsense. And Bumblebee's there. You like Bumblebee.
I do enjoy Bumblebee. Even the idea we call out that her and Mal are still together, their kid is still a thing.
Say that again is the generic deal of, I know what you're thinking. Mal's okay, baby's fine, let's go. I'm like,
thank you.
Come on. Why would you do it that
but
way?
It's good just to know that things are good in DC land.
Basically, she's just, John Layman's saying, whatever you know about Bumblebee, that's what I think's going on. Like, I don't know, they're doing shit. And
things are still good, Jim. Things haven't gone bad.
Nothing. It's just nothing, though. I mean, that's, again, a character who shows up and you might want a little bit more, and all she's there, and they're like, hey there, hey, call me Bumblebee, I'm in my outfit.
Look, the thing is, she's in her outfit. She's built all of this at Mercy Hall at the behest of Donna Troy. They're even working on Shimmer, who's locked up in a cell that I'm sure that Damian built at some point, so they can help Shimmer as well. But all Bumblebee gets to do is pretty much lay out the exposition, go to where to controls, where Roy turns into, Psycho Pirate, knocks her out, and goes to the controls himself to fuck with Rachel.
Yeah, there you go. Bumblebee's knocked out. Their one punch, and and Roy's knocked out in the bushes in the park.
It's the worst, though. I'm telling you, I want to see what Psycho Pirate's doing. We barely get any Psycho Pirate except for him at the controls here. I'm like, at least that could be interesting. But you're in an issue completely full of the Titans, which characters I love. I just don't love them in the series. I find them kind of lame and boring, and this issue did nothing for me to
because they're generic.
Think otherwise.
He doesn't do anything. What he's doing is going back to tropes and things, with Roy and Donna kissing, like that sort of thing. And I don't even know what's going on right now with me and Josh. Like the stupid things like that. And then you end up having a fight.
Starfire doesn't have anything to do. Cyborg's doing something interesting that we don't get to see.
Also, like Psycho Pirate
Nightwing barely has anything to do.
That look that he decides to be like in the, like, if you're going to pick, I'm going to go undercover, I'm going to go. He kind of looks like Bill Murray a little, like hanging in the park, just and this weird old guy. I don't know. But it was weird. But it's very generic. What would you give it?
I think the art is fine in this. Again, it's fine. It's not great by any means because I don't like to go this route like you do. You said something about some character, is Grail being dumpy in the Wonder Woman. For some reason, Starfire looks dumpy to me in this issue.
Yeah, see, there you go.
It's all I thought about. I'm like, oh man, I've fallen far if I'm making comments like Jim Werner.
Wow, that was on the Patreon. So if anybody wants to hear my hateful comments, just go to the Patreon and hear me talk about Grail and what I want her in her goth-esque look that gets me going.
Where's my goth girlfriend look?
Yes, that's what I need. My imaginary goth girlfriend.
It's just another uninteresting issue that's dealing with the same things we had with Raven before, when all I care about personally is the Terror Titans, or whatever you want to call the team that Slade is putting together.
It is funny when they come into the Smooch City, right? They're like, oh man, look, everybody's affected, whatever. The only one who isn't is Bill Murray, who is Psycho Pirate. Nobody even bothers mentioning or seeing that. Plus, Roy seems to fully be in the open at all times, where there's no way that he's getting knocked out and thrown in the bushes. But there you go. I was hoping you'd go back and see, like, Roy's like have something where he's like, I think I see a shiny nickel. And he runs over to the bushes and it wasn't a nickel, people, as he comes out. Let's make out the Donna Troy. Does things seem off with you, Roy? I don't know. It just, everything goes. And then when you get to things seem like they should be bigger, but you said it. The characters are the lamest parts. You don't ever be able to get in. I'll go 5 as well. But we'll finish up, Eric, and we'll finish up with a book that get this, Eric. You've liked a little more than me.
I have.
It is Catwoman. Have you say? And let me get to the credits. And then the credits in there.
Oh, jeez.
There we go. Should I give anybody credit for this? Is that could
It's
that
not
be
a bad book.
Can that be my joke? It's not good. It's not good. I don't even see credits in here. I'm looking through. If you can find them, you tell me, because I'm looking through here, and the reason why I didn't find them before is because I couldn't find them. Maybe they're just little somewhere.
Torn Grumbuck.
Yeah, I know Torn. God. There's the credits for Batman Long Halloween. I see those on the side. Oh, there it is. They're real little in the one. It is Catwoman number 73. Torn Grumbuck script. Mariana Ignazzi on art, Patricio Del Pecci on colors, and Steve Wands on letters. And we're just going to go to another city and do
going
things
to Tokyo to look at Alexander Beloff, the other of the Beloff brothers.
Yeah, I think that most people, I mean, you may say, because you have your notes and stuff and you've been paying attention because we're doing the podcast or whatnot. But if I said it to anybody who might be reading this book, tell me all three brothers' names. I don't think anybody'd be able to tell me them. I don't think they'd be able to tell me dad's names.
I don't have any notes for this, but it's Ivan, Alexander, and Mitya.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you're the only one. I don't think anybody cares. I don't think it's spelled out well in this. Also,
Problem is, I think the mother might be the big bad in this whole thing. I don't remember her name, though.
I don't even remember what she even looks like. And so when you go to this and then you go off to what ends up being way too many pages of Selena saying, I have to hide in plain sight. So I'm going to hook up with these girls that I became friends with on a plane and talk about how this one guy doesn't think girls are funny. I don't know why we're doing this. And I end up thinking, first off, you're putting these girls in grave danger and they're going to die. And it just feels odd. It feels like in that point, in the weirdest way, Torn Grumbuck has an issue that somebody told her that girls aren't funny and she has to say something about it in her book. Because it doesn't fit and it's stupid. Even the idea that these girls are like, oh, whatevs. I got, and Selena's like, I could be friends. No way. She's not being friends. She's
that's the thing. That's actually the funniest bit, because the idea that Selena Kyle, with the Evie Hall character that she's trying to get to the bottom of, who appeared to be dead, letting her know that somebody has found her past life, connecting her to Selena Kyle, and now that Selena Kyle is on like a hit list with these people. This guy Concrete being almost the calculator, the guy behind the desk who's organizing the whole situation. But she's on her way to Alexander Beloff's place. She wants to keep a low profile. She made friends with these girls all on the plane. She's going to get into a Uber together with them, and they're going to talk. The thing that really, they're doing all this girl chat stuff. And in my mind, the idea is she's trying to play it off like, yeah, I could be friends with these girls. And all I think these girls are like, oh, this old lady's like 35 or 40 or something.
I'm telling you. And the art's okay. We talked about the art kind of fitting the story. It does seem to change art styles at points. But at one point, I don't want to shame anybody, but the lady in the back seat, like her weight fluctuates in this issue. Like these few panels, her weight fluctuates from by 50 pounds at one point. And wow. I just don't get it. It does. Look at her when she's like, I would have slammed my fork through his hand. And then later she's like, yeah, look at me. And then she's it's why are we doing this? Why are we like the idea where you're telling
I think mostly the idea is to show that her plan did not work because Concrete's men are onto her.
Well, you could do that in just her getting in a taxi and having a guy follow. The idea that we're going to go through 3 pages of this, where this book's biggest problem in my mind is you have not done any character work for these characters to actually make them stand out or make them memorable. And now we're going to deal with these girls in a car who are like, yeah, this guy I went on one date because he said that women aren't funny. Get that. And I said to him, I did, that when you're at a girl's sleepover, all the girls are laughing. So they must be funny. The guy's probably like, yeah, you're funny to other bitches. Like the guy seems like a hateful guy. But the idea of this play of just why? Well, why are you doing this idea of not being funny and fun? I'm like, yeah. And then she's like, I could be friends with him. Really? You're going to be friends? You're going to get him killed because legitimately there's a hitman following you in this and they all should be dead. But yeah, you do that. That's there. And they're in Japan. They're heading to shop. That's where they're going to shop till they drop. What you should have done is, Torn Grumbuck, if you're so fucking hard on about this, have a joke be told here that actually makes me laugh, and then be like, you proved your point. There you go. It's pretty funny. But they don't. They're just bitching. They're just bitching about not being funny or funny, and just like, hey, can you get that? And like, so I said, it fails on its own lack of reason. Like, picture a group of girls at a sleepover. All right, I'm there. Is there laughter? Or are they sitting around in subdued silence waiting for a boy to crack a joke? I mean, fuck you, all this. I kind of want Catwoman doing things, and I don't need this. But it ends, and you go. I don't know which I like that better than lore. But we're at page 8, and they haven't done anything. They're just going through the things. You see a flashback of Catwoman kind of acting it up and whatnot, and even that. None of these things hit with me, because then it's like disjointed. Then Catwoman's going to go and see this guy who makes people disappear, but that's too quick. Like some of these scenes, like that.
And by the way of disappear, that like at first I thought he meant kill, that he was a hitman, but no, this is a guy who actually like makes people disappear.
I figured
in case they're in danger.
Yeah, I figured it was a guy who makes
somebody
them
says,
go somewhere.
I can make them disappear. I'm like, oh, I didn't order a hit.
Yeah, I'm just saying the idea that she's trying to disappear and keeps saying it. I'm like, okay, I get it. But this guy, and then you get a mention of the one guy, what is it, Shota or whatever. Hey, and in that, I don't think this guy would say anything. It seemed weird, but he comes by once in a while. All right, so he's alive, whatever. And then she ends up, even that where it's supposed to be fancy, she goes in, when I first talked to him, he was a young whippersnapper doing this. He only had a couple rocks because he puts rocks in the ponds when he makes people disappear. And now he's got a ton. All right. Hey, what are you doing? Hey, what up? And
can you get me some C4? Will do.
Yeah, I was like, I guess maybe he does make people disappear in other ways. But the idea, he's like, I could really make you disappear. You could do that. No. Ooh, you want to get back at him? Yes, I do. And there you go. It just
mostly
weird.
The thing is, like, I
wanted more of these connections and more of these characters. But because of that, this is kind of a tropey character because it's just there. You don't have enough page because we spent too much time yapping about girls and funny jokes.
Right now, we're going to try this to get Alexander's, attention that, like, because obviously he should know that Evie Hall or Selena Kyle, whatever you want to go with at this point, is in town because she expected this whole thing. She wants to get his goat by blowing up one of his warehouses, but also sending him an email or text, whatever she does, by showing him that she has one of the keys to his father's safe.
Yeah, and so she's now going to go up to a camera.
But she can't trust anybody, though, because when she's in this warehouse, she does find a man that, Alexander was torturing before, because it seems like on top of the idea that, Selena Kyle wants to know who has a hit out on her. It seems like Alexander Beloff wants to know this as well and is torturing one of the hitmen to the point where he
thinks she's saving a good guy, but
that's the thing. She's saving somebody that Alexander is torturing. He tries to murder her then because he's a good hitman, but she can't trust anybody at this point because everybody is out to get her. But even though we think that the Beloffs are the bad guys, or at least the Beloff brothers, it seems that if Alexander wants to get to the bottom of this, maybe he is somebody that we can eventually trust.
Also, this guy kills himself. And that's fun. That was a fun time. And I swear to God, Selena's like, this guy isn't that strong, but I kind of see I want to see where this is going. Like, she's there trying to stop him barely, and he's like, no, don't. Like, maybe use the other hand. But, she's got his other arm, but seriously, just grab the gun. But he offs himself. And then she's like, screw this, and goes off. But at one point, even where you have Alexander who's trying to, like, hey, what's going on? What's happened? What, you didn't hear? And they go through like the lady says, oh, you didn't hear all this stuff, and doesn't really mention everything that happened that I thought that I'm telling you, this book, it just has lost me completely. You had the brother-sister hitmen, and I still thought like they were going to be a big part with the sister.
I still think they might be.
Seem to be crippled now, possibly. I don't know, or unlegged. I don't know what you're supposed to say again. But the idea where it just seems to just be, okay, now we're going to go, like it's taking the idea, Catwoman, master disguise, jet setting, and you're just going with that and then see what goes. Like, oh,
but
then we go to
this
Japan
whole idea that the people that Catwoman used to work with under the Beloff family for whatever jobs they had, the Beloffs had blackmailed all of them, and whatever years removed, 10 years removed, whatever we are now, they are starting to be killed. And Evie Hall was supposedly killed.
That's what the weird thing is. What was that all about? Or, I don't know.
To get Selena's attention, I think. But I want to think that the missus of the Beloff family, again, I can't remember her name. We're all suspecting the brothers because they're the ones who are supposed to take off the Beloff family overall.
I think they're schmucks. But except
I think
Alexander.
She is just trying to get rid of everything that could bring them down eventually for the people that she used to work with. Just cleaning house.
I don't know if I'll be interested in that. And even then, with Catwoman, the idea where Evie...
Or maybe she is just trying to she figured out that Evie Hall was Catwoman and is doing all this to get the keys to the safe.
What Catwoman, the real smart play, would have not cared. Like, oh, Evie Hall's dead? Oh, well, that takes a loose end.
Well, maybe she would have, but then they had hitmen after her immediately.
Yeah, it just ends up being weird. The story, I think, is just gone, and it's just convoluted mess. I get what's going on, but it's not interesting to me. And then things happen in this to try to make you like, oh, she found this guy. She saves him. Oh, he's a hitman. He kills himself. Boom. And I'm like, at the end, you're kind of nowhere.
She's done playing. Just going to a camera. Here I am. Come get me.
That's the worst. Is I was done playing after the first issue. It just isn't interesting to me. I don't really care. I don't know enough about the Belov brothers. I don't know their names like you do because they're not really spelled out well. We even had that issue, last issue or the one before, whatever it was, where you were not even using them. You were using other guys, the guards.
Oh, his boys.
Yes, and so you just end up doing things. And I think that Torn Grumbach thinks that this is smarter than it is. And at the end, I think we're going to see if it is the mother, whatever. I think at the end, it's just going to be like, oh, that was it. Like that's
again.
It?
I say that, but we really don't know anything about Mitya yet because we haven't gotten to that part of the story.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I don't know anything about anybody. I don't know who's showing up and whatnot. And I'm telling you right now, there's 2 reviews, not good, and there's 2 user reviews, even worse. People aren't really enjoying this, and I don't think it's.
I like it. I don't think it's great by any means, but I still enjoy it.
Overall critic rating 6 and the user review 4.5, and I don't remember even seeing it in the top 200. But again, every time I say those numbers, they're not full accurate, but I didn't remember seeing it. It might be somewhere in that top deal, but I don't think anybody's getting involved with this. At first, I thought, makes sense, you're being a little smarter and that awful shit with Teeny Howard. But it's not fun, but it's just convoluted. I think it's convoluted for convoluted's sake to make it look fancy. And then you start yelling in Ubers about stand-up comedians not being girls. I don't know. But what would you give it?
Ultimately, I think I'd give it, say, 6.5 out of 10. The art's fine. Nothing that wows me overall. And I enjoy this whole thing. I just wish we would have got a little bit more out of this issue from Alexander Belov. But the problem is it's going to be a lot like Ivan's. We're going to have multiple issues to deal with that.
I guess. I don't know. I actually, legit, not even joking, 2 people actually got I didn't even think this was a question, but this is how bad I think people don't like. 2 people got a hold of me and said, did you see Catwoman didn't get canceled? I'm like, I never thought it would just get canceled. I never said that.
Crossed my mind.
I never said that, whatever. But that's how this book kind of seems to be. I don't know, but I'm giving it a 4. I just don't enjoy it. It's kind of a slog. But what is your book of the week?
My book of the week is The New Gods #3.
Yeah, my book of the week. I think I said, I can't. I think it's Batman, Superman, World's Finest. I did remember what it was, but whatever it was, I gave a 6.
Now, I wasn't here for it, but what about Batman and Robin Year One?
Oh, you know what I did get? See, I don't usually think of that. I think I gave that a 7. So that would be my book of the week. So there it is. I usually go with what we did, but 7 wins it. Batman and Robin. I revealed my score after I guess I could because it was already on the podcast, Eric. So yeah, 7. That would be it. So there you go. Book of the week. Oh my goodness. Where's the song, Eric? Now I'm down. I hate when at the end, it's like, man, I didn't rate a lot of things very well, but that's how it is. I feel bad.
Everybody else has to suffer now.
No, I just feel bad because I really want to like a lot of these books. Catwoman's one of my favorite characters, and I'm not getting into that. And I think a lot of these books, I told you at the beginning, I couldn't get a grip on overall what I thought because most of them, if you would go say what our scores were, there are a lot of mid scores. It just kind of felt like this week was, well,
it wasn't a great week overall, but it wasn't a terrible week either. It's not the
worst we've ever had. That's kind of where it lied in.
It's a mid.
It's better than, but sometimes it's cool to have 2 really good books and then some shitty ones that are funny. But oh well, maybe next week, Eric, because we got a lot of books. Here's what we'll be talking about next week. Remember, 2 of these books will be on our Patreon only. Badass Patreon Spotlight, whatever the hell it's called. The idea of those will be picked by the badasses of the Get Fresh crew. I have some theories, Eric, as I do. But before we go into that, we have a book called Absolute Wonder Woman #5, which will be on our live show that we do every Friday on YouTube, 7:15 p.m. On Fridays, every Friday, there's an Absolute book. We have a show. You can join us there live or listen to the replay on the regular feed, but it's fun to get involved live. With that, I have to cough, Eric. What do you think about that Absolute Wonder Woman? I look forward to the Absolute Wonder Woman this week. Now that the Tetracide, the Ford Killer, is finally dead, and we can move on and see what Wonder Woman has to show man's world. When they ended up leaking the solicits came out yesterday, but on Thursday, Bleeding Cool had leaked the solicits. But what they did was that Rich Johnson got a hold of that Connect, whatever that thing is, that magazine thing that has all the solicits.
Oh,
and
the,
he just
the DC Current?
DC
Whatever it is?
Current. Yeah, Connect Current, whatever it is. But he ends up taking
Direct
pictures.
Current.
But some of them you can't read very well. So the Absolute Wonder Woman, because it's a really small solicit. I think that and Superman, because they were going to push like Martian Manhunter and stuff like that I sent you the solicit for. But the idea of it was, I'm reading it. Can't really read it. It's a little blurry. And all I see is Tetracide twice. I'm like, what the hell? And then finally
Maybe it's not over.
came. No, I actually was I was laughing. I'm like, oh no, the 4 killer.
The 4 killer needs 4 deaths.
No, but what it was is that it says in this thing, which is funny. It's like, if you thought the Tetracide was bad, I'm like, not really, but what are you getting at? And it's like pushing something now. So the Tetracide is still done, it seems. But they did have that Martian Manhunter deal, that Dennis Camp. That guy is like really, his hair looks like he hasn't washed it, Eric. But the idea that I didn't
you wash your hair.
I didn't know that the play of that book was that Martian Manhunter and John Jones
Detective John
are
Jones
2 separate guys. And yeah, I don't know if I like that. I think that's kind of weird. But
why is that weird? I'm saying it is no day for an absolute universe. That's fine.
Yeah, it seems like it's like a Body Snatchers type thing, and they're going to end up
Not
having
a buddy cop.
No, they're going to have goofy like Body Snatcher buddy cop things. For
Alien Nation.
That book looks fucking ridiculous. But
You ever watch Alien Nation?
Yeah, I saw the movie.
It's going to be just like that.
Yeah, I don't need that.
Thing is, I don't know if I saw the movie. I think I just watched the TV show.
Yeah, I saw the movie, and I don't know that I watched the TV show, so we could get together. And
All right.
We complete each other. We have Detective Comics number 1094, a book that we're enjoying, a book that we are enjoying. And these are the ones that will be on the regular podcast, so we have that going on. Flash number 18, sadly, Cy Spurrier's Flash run does not end with the newest solicits. A lot of people said that too. I don't get it. I don't know why, but I'll just read what fun things we'll have. The Flash family in action as tensions and Scataris reach a fever pitch. The entire Flash family gets involved, and a rogue makes a play for the throne. Eric, the throne.
Weather Wizard?
That's just Weather Wizard. I mean, seriously, if you're reading this book,
what about Eclipso?
Yeah, what about him? I don't know. Eric, now I'm getting depressed again. These books. Now, this Flash deal, though, it's like, who's liking it? I know there's people out there that must be, but
Donnie, I saw a whole thread where they love this shit and think that everything that Jeremy Adams did was bullshit. It was a weird thread.
Again, I think you said that. That's probably like 6 months ago now. I bet you they've changed their tune, too. It's bullshit.
Now that they were loving that Archangel shit.
Yeah. I think a lot of people who like it just want to sound smart, but they don't realize they sound dumb by saying they like that bullcrap. Green Arrow number 21.
All right.
That book has to pick it up a bit. Chris Condon and Montrose.
The Freshwater Killer does not end until issue number 24.
Yeah. Star City on the Brink. I don't know why I didn't read The Detective, but I'm reading the rest. After his encounter with the Freshwater Killer, that's making it seem like that's the only one, but Oliver Queen has even more questions regarding the ecological disaster in Star City, which leads him deeper into his own history as the threat comes even closer to Oliver's home. Plus, he makes chili. I wish it said that at the end. I don't know. The idea of the setup of the story and where it went and how it ended that last issue. I hate to keep saying it, but it's just I'm not that interested. Maybe that's the whole play with me right now is the storytelling I think is really lacking. But we'll see. Freshwater Killer.
I look forward to it. I just don't care for Oliver's new costume.
Yeah, I don't really care about the Freshwater Killer and the idea that he was part of that organization that ended up doing this. It's just... It's
a cool callback that like brings everything full circle.
Yeah, I don't think it brings anything full circle. I think it's a boring-ass story that nobody's reading. Again, that was one of the books that I even had a video that said, come on, everybody, you got to read this. Give it a chance, because nobody seems to be reading it. But we'll see. We'll see. Now I'm depressed. Justice League Unlimited.
You're making a video to get everybody to read this and telling everybody how depressed you are at this.
No, I'm saying no. I made the video, and then since then, the thing has taken a dive.
Okay.
The first issue we kind of liked. We thought it was kind of cool and whatnot. After that, I'm just not that interested in. It's very slow pace, like you said. We see
last issue was a down issue with the idea that we had Oliver Queen pissed off and then just like shooting arrows on a roof until he's attacked.
I think that's what he's going to keep doing. It says that he thinks about all the things that he did in the past. I think he's just up there on the thing.
It's a Oliver Queen thinking time.
Shooting arrows and like, man, I'm going to make chili. What? I'm out of paprika? This world sucks. Get me Bisogni on the line. I need.
I wish I did know that
I need a
recipe so I could call
recipe.
you out whether that's in it or not.
I'm telling you, it is in the. What was it? Where it was in? Was it in that anniversary issue that we were actually
It's
in
been
as well?
in a bunch of stuff I've seen in the back of some issues, like especially celebratory issues or like Christmas issues or something along those lines.
I bet you. I'm looking it up. Green Arrow. I bet you that's paprika. If it doesn't, I'm going to claim I didn't find the recipe. But I bet it's not even. I bet you the thing is, if we had it, it's probably one of those like I thought you said that this was fucking hot. Here, I see it right from a book. Oh God, Eric, I don't think there's paprika. I don't even know it really. What he does have Gebhardt chili powder though.
Sure does.
Also, hot New Mexico
2 teaspoons
chili
of paprika.
powder. Oh, is it in there?
Yep.
Where? Oh, it is. It's and cumin, Eric, one of the sexiest spices out there. See, paprika. I was right. 1 teaspoon cayenne. I like it hot. Are you looking at the same thing I'm looking at?
No, I moved on from now.
Oh. Thanks a lot. You make me trying to extend this. After this,
I know what you're doing.
I have nobody to talk to for
I'm
a week.
done.
And you're there. You're done. All right. You're done indeed. Where am I, Eric? What's going on?
After Green Arrow is what?
It is Justice League Unlimited number 4.
Maybe Airwave will do something.
Dan Moore and Mark Wade. The world is ablaze as the Justice League reels from the horrors in. Oh, it's that deal where it's giving me the question marks where it's supposed to be. What is that? Horrors inflicted? No, invicted. I don't know how this is. It doesn't make sense the way that this question mark comes up. By the parademon horde. And infected by, Eric, maybe. I don't know.
Didn't we already
that
deal
doesn't
with
make
that?
sense. I thought, but I'm telling you, this question mark's screwing me. A new threat arises across space and time, with the team racing to put out multiple villainous fires at once. The mystery surrounding the Martian Manhunter deepens, and the techno-terrorist group Inferno makes its boldest move yet. And their secret leader is revealed. Did you care? You're one who loves to find out the secret leader. Did you know there was one? I
did not care. This is the thing is, I need this book to do something other than what it's doing right now.
Yeah, it's another one.
It's a Justice League Unlimited book. It should be the biggest book in DC Comics, and for some reason, it is slipping under my personal radar.
Yeah, that's weird. And again, when we end up, if people aren't on the Patreon, which hopefully they should be, Eric, but when we do the thing, we'll go through these again. We don't read the solicits, but we'll go through, hey, Justice League Unlimited, we'll say, these are what we'll be talking about. And this is always the book now. It's like, what is that about? And we said the one time, you shouldn't be saying that about the Justice League. We should
look, the secret organization Inferno is doing stuff, and there's going to be a bunch of other stuff added in.
Yeah, there you go. The end. Here's one of Eric's favorite books, though, that'll pick him up. And it's a doozy. Tells you, I'm trying to load this up, Eric. Metamorpho, the Element Man number 3. Bullshit Orpho, the Bullshit Man. It's such a... People, here's the thing. The idea that it's going back and playing off the, hey, look, Silver Age deal. That doesn't mean that I don't like Silver Age comics. It doesn't mean me and Eric don't know what Silver Age comics are. It means that we don't need this bullshit now, and it's so over the top that it's ridiculous.
And they're going to ruin Vandal Savage.
Last podcast, we got called out by somebody who's like, I guess you guys never read Silver Age comics because you're lame-o.
But I moved on from them, and if Silver Age comics were still told today, comics would die immediately.
Well, this comic's dying, Eric, and whatever.
That's why comics evolved to be a more modern medium.
And as I said that, it was actually Jason who said, now, Jason likes it. It's one of... Jason and Reggie, those two guys are 2 peas in a pod, except Reggie's dead. But the idea of all that, they really do like the same things. So when Jason says, oh, but I kind of like that Metamorpho, I kind of dig it. People are like, what? Like, it does not shock me because Reggie would be all over this fucking book.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And you wouldn't be doing it right now, and I'd be stuck doing it with him. That was like
Reggie.
Reggie was the greatest, like, out for you. It's like you call him the relief pitcher, and then you just fade off. All you had to do, though, really, and it was the play. You could play Reggie like a fiddle. We're not going to do this book anymore. And then later on that week, Reggie would get a hold of me and say, fuck Eric, we're doing it. And I'm like, oh,
Hooray.
God. I'm like, yeah, we're doing it. The DCU's, oh, wait, it's Al Ewing and Steve Lieber. The DCU's most eligible bachelor, Metamorpho. They said it could never happen, but it's real, hideously real. Rex Mason has split with Sapphire Stagg, because
I do know.
Metamorpho's a swinging single superhero again. but why hasn't an element gal made her move? Can it be because the lady from Shade is busy with a deadly secret mission, one she can only complete with the help of Java? What gives Metamaniacs? Oh, this and Vandal Savage too? Yeah, we'll see
I
about
just
that.
love the
right?
idea that we have a Metamorpho the Element Man book, and our story is based on Element Girl.
Yeah, and
Java.
Vandal Savage, which will probably mess it up. As only Al
For anybody
Ewing-
who doesn't remember, Vandal Savage, because of what happened when the asteroid fell, creating that Lazarus pool at the Observatory of Gotham, however it works, it's magic, whatnot. Vandal Savage is now not allowed to leave the city limits of Gotham City.
Yeah, so it says, in this and Vandal Savage 2, as only Al Ewing and Steve Lieber could depict him. On the cover, you get a very Indiana Jones, James Bond-esque duel, and the Kill Bill. There's a lot of homage, but unfortunately, Java, you look like Bobo. He's there in a suit with a martini like James Bond. He looks like Bobo. Yeah, you get the what a cover. I'm looking. There's a preview available, Eric, I think. Let me see. Oh God, it's already bad, but I just want to see if Vandal Savage shows up and he's not in Gotham, just to make you laugh. Oh, he's got Crocs. He does, and this is bad. This seems bad. Nothing in those few pages except infuriatingly nonsense bullshit. But no Vandal Savage. So I just wanted to see if he showed up, just so we knew that he'd messed it up. Maybe he'll play it smart, and actually he'll play it right. I don't know.
Didn't seem by the end of the last issue of Metamorpho they were going to play it smart.
Nope. No, you mean because of the whole other part of the issue? Like, it was all dumb. Power Girl number 18, another one of Eric's favorites. It's Leah Williams and David Valdione. Power Girl gets prehistoric.
Sure does. We got all that cotton candy around the Star Industries building with all them dinosaurs.
Yeah, I forgot about those dinosaurs. Like, this is a book that could have, like, the weirdest shit happen, and it's still not enough for Leah Williams. It has to do weird things. Power Girl's throwing a housewarming party, but it is soon crashed by eco-terrorists who desire a return to the days when nature flourished without technology. So are they revealing that's what that goo then would have been? That's the eco-terror? It's weird, because why would they show up now? And before she can pause the music and show them the door, they detonate a magic bomb that takes everyone back to the prehistoric age. Cotton candy bomb, but it didn't seem to take everybody back. It seemed like they were bringing it forward. No, it just seemed like
the idea was we couldn't go back into the Star Industries building, and outside, or Star Enterprise, whatever it would be, and outside of that, we had some dinosaurs.
Yeah, dinosaurs and people running. On the cover, it looks like Streaky's having a grand old time flying through the air with shrimp and lemon.
Well, there you go, Jim. Maybe it's an omen, because I just got my Power Girl and Streaky figure in today, so I'll have my Power Girl and Streaky just so we can talk about it, staring right into my soul.
Or is it just omen? He's in the book, Eric. With that, they did show there's a new Supergirl book coming out. It was just announced by. And I get them mixed up. Sophie Campbell, I believe, or Josie Campbell. Which one writes Shazam?
Josie Campbell.
So it's Sophie Campbell who ended up writing the TMNT stuff that I've not had one person say they liked, but she's doing that. And on the cover, the thing it was kind of cute. Supergirl's playing with Crypto, and then Streaky looks pissed. He's jealous. I'm like, bitch, you went and were hanging out with Power Girl, so screw you. You cheating, whatever. I was going to say
she was not hanging out. She was given to Power Girl by Supergirl. Streaky has every right to be pissed.
Streaky was pissed. And I'm like, boy, Streaky would kill Crypto in a second in my mind. But it's kind of funny. It was a cool cover. I did like the cover. But we'll see. We'll see how it is, that series, when it comes down the pike. But hey, we also have Superman
that
number
and the Crypto
23.
series.
Yeah. I actually was thinking and asking people what are the chances that we're doing that series. We'll see. But I don't even. Somebody did tell me who's writing it, and it wasn't somebody that I liked, I thought, but I don't know. Superman number 23, excuse me, Eric, I just belched. Written by Joshua Williamson, art by Dan Mora. Superwoman, Lost in Time. As the Man of Steel battles for the life of his deadliest adversary, Doomsday, Superwoman travels across time and space to unlock the secrets of the Time Trapper. What life-shattering secrets lurk at the end of time? What clues can Lois Lane find to save the future? And can these answers be uncovered in time to halt Time Trapper's evolution into God mode? Find out in this essential chapter of the many deaths of Doomsday Saga. I am liking it. Last issue was a little bit down, but it kind of seemed forced with the idea. I kind of want more of the, what's it called, from the Doomsday Saga deal, back in the day. What's that guy's, they're dead now. What's that guy's name?
The Radiant?
That fancy deal, the Radiant. I wanted a little more of them, but the idea is
Calatonians?
I like the Radiant. It's like, hey, yeah, we're going to use that dude. What? You said use? We got you. And I think maybe ask what
we
you meant
need
by
this
that.
man confined or dead, and that's it.
I just like they're like, well, we can't trust you because whatever, and you can't kill him. He comes back. They're aware of that. But maybe they have some plan or whatever. And no, we're going to take him. You don't have to worry about it. Whatever. We could use him. Well, what? You said use? I just wanted to time out. What do you mean by that? Oh, I meant that we'll use him. We're going to make him work this world engine endlessly in hell, and it's going to fuel our whole planet. Okay, I'm okay with that use. But it all seems nefarious.
I just looked, though, because I don't know the writer, but the writer of Crypto, The Last Dog of Krypton, is Ryan North.
Okay, yeah. I don't
know Ryan North, so.
Ryan North, a lot of people right now like his Fantastic Four. I do not, and he wrote like Squirrel Girl. And he's doing that one World Under Doom that has started that was complete bullshit in my mind. But again...
But with the summer of Superman, Crypto, Supergirl, and new Action Comics where Mark Waid will be writing the young adventures of Superboy.
What's that? Who's Mark Waid?
Yes, Mark Waid.
Oh. The thing about Ryan North, he considers himself a funny man, Eric, so that book's just going to be just goofy. So we'll see. We'll see if it's worth even reading. But that's it. Those books are the ones we're talking about next week. 2 will be on the Patreon Spotlight. You go to patreon.com/WeirdScience, sign up for that. Get a ton of other shows, and there's a bunch of levels. Each level, more shows, all of that up to the badass level, where you can pick what we end up talking about on the podcast. And then also, as a side note, and all these things will be in the show notes with clickable links and everything like that. But if you do want to check out on Friday night, we will be talking about Absolute Wonder Woman live at 7:15. And people get involved in the chat, and we're getting a little better. Me and Eric aren't exactly the veterans, seasoned veterans of YouTube. So we're getting used to doing the whole deal, doing the podcast, but also talking to people and stuff and having fun. So join us there. But that is it for the show. Standard deal, Eric, but I hope the books next week pick up. But we do have, I'm saying it's, about the same length of time, and the books were meh. But I kind of want next week to be good. But we have a couple books that we already are down with. But maybe they'll pick up. Maybe they'll turn around. That Metamorpho,
Power Girl and Flash are going to pick up in
Metamorpho. And that's 3 of the books. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But with that, what do we say at the end of the show?
Everybody have a great week. We keep it weird. And we'll see you in 7.
See you in 7.
Every other show sucks. That's why you're listening to us. Every other show sucks. We're the only one that isn't us. So thank you for being smart. From the bottom of our heart. Thank you for being smart. 'Cause everything that us just thinks like a fart. They stink like a fart. Things like a fart. Like a fart. They stink like a fart. Let's go! 2, 3, 4, 5. Eric has read comics. Most of his life. 9, 8, 7, 6. Jim can really act like a shut your mouth. Every other show